Hello, 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 and welcome back to the stream, everybody. Yeah, so sorry for the confusion, but like I couldn't decide. I couldn't decide if I wanna stream in the morning or later, and I am also kind of working around. I am working around a schedule of other people in the household, so sometimes shit happens. And then I decided, you know what? We haven't done one of those in a really while. In a while. Uh, haven't done one of those in a while. Later in the day, so I was kind of interested to see if like new people are going to show up or if literally anything is going to be different. So I decided, you know what, fuck it, let's do it later, rather. It's not that late, uh, at least for me, obviously. You guys are from all over the world, so and yeah, hey Harry Bonell, hey Lich, what's up, Bloodwolf? Thank you for joining me. I don't know if the mic is a little bit low. Shouldn't be that, but I'm not gonna I don't want to be too loud. Some of the latest recordings I was loud as fuck, man, so I had to like turn down the volume a little bit. I work a night shift, so the usual time works, but a change might get more people. Yeah, but the thing is, no, that's fair, because you work a night shift in Northern America, I'm assuming. But I am from Europe, so for me it's like in the morning. But most of my viewers are from North America, specifically the United States, obviously. So uh, I think like I think me streaming in the morning is a better time for them. I'm not entirely sure how that works out. Yep, Central Canada. Yeah, that's what I kind of guessed. And back to doing what we were doing. Surprisingly, got that Battlefield Gothic Armada 2 review by Mandalore to watch from last stream. That Jacob Geller video that was also here. SsethTzeentach coming in hot with 2 new videos, which was really surprising. One of them is really short, so I'm assuming it's kind of a joke video. My fears have been kind of confirmed. I seen some League footage in one of his like reviews, and I said I hope he's not playing League again, and it seems he went back. I'm all the way from Southeast Asia. 1 a.m. here. Holy shit, I didn't know that. Oh my god, man. So when I stream in the morning, it's usually like, I think, prime YouTube time for you. It would be like, no, it's kinda, no, yeah, like right after work, like 3 p.m. or something like that, if I'm uh, calculating correctly. That is wild. I have not, man, I would never expect that I would attract such a diverse crowd. That's wild. That's so cool to see. Incidentally, if you haven't played it, you might want to avoid Bricky's review of Space Marine 2. It's terrible, which is surprising for him. Holy. Haven't watched anything from Bricky in a while. I kinda like, I don't know, like there hasn't been one that kinda grabbed me. I play ball with my sleeping schedules. It is insanely unhealthy. Oh man. Been there, done that. Collecting one viewer from everywhere, just like the fucking Infinity Stones, you know. Haven't watched Bricky review in a while. I do want to play Space Marine 2 by the end of the year, and Space Marine 1. I kinda have a little bit of a video, other like after that Mechanicus review, which hopefully some of you enjoyed. I have like other plans cooking up. Towards the end of the year, I wanna do a video about some of the games that came out this year that I enjoyed. So I really wanna try Space Marine 1 to kind of get into the Space Marine games lore, which I'm not sure if that is even fucking needed, but whatever. Space Marine 1 is a really short game, so it doesn't matter. And then get into Space Marine 2 to check it out. So yeah, probably won't bother with watching or reading reviews anyway, because I wanna, you know, get that fresh experience for myself. And yeah, then I seen this Factorio review by MandaloreGaming. Factorio is an interesting game I have been hearing a lot about over the years, but I never got into it myself. And it was a short little review from Mandalore, and I was kinda interested to see. And yeah, that second Seth video, and this is probably gonna be the setup for today, these 5 videos. 5 is a lot for my stream, I think, but one of them is insanely short, so whatever. And then I have again 2 videos that are from my last stream, and added one from Living Ironically in Europe. Living Ironically in Europe has been like driving a lot of attention to my channel. For some reason, I reacted to one of his videos, man. One. And like it has been consistently bringing in the most views, which is kind of hilarious. So yes, so that a couple of months ago he did Eastern European Stereotypes Explained, which I'm interested in. I might judge a little bit if they are accurate or inaccurate. Space Marine 2 is fantastic. Bricky's issue is that he first ignored the PC recommended page. He was complaining about bad optimization in a stream while acknowledging he was ignoring it, and he somehow got every single story detail completely wrong. Holy! We're talking about him going, I know it says to install an SSD, but I thought it could handle a hard drive without having long loading and pop-in level complaints. Dead serious. Holy man. But like, to do that, okay, to do that on a stream, I don't mind. It's kind of a, you know, a lot of people do like live gameplays in front of their audience, sort of a impromptu. So sometimes, yeah, issues might surprise you. But like you're saying, this like spilled into his actual review of the game. That's kind of wild. You know what? Let me actually... I'm gonna check just one thing. Because now I'm curious. Oh my god.
Ending the stream. Don't
Let me pull it up. I'm kinda curious.
Don't forget.
Okay, the like to dislike ratio is not that bad. But like I seen that this generated a response video, which is holy. Like it recommended to me a video from another channel called Bricky's amazingly disappointing review of Space Marine 2 or something like that, and it's like a 2-hour long video. So holy, kind of surprising. Incidentally, his fans were against him on the review as well. I hope he gets better because I like his content. You know, sometimes it happens. I can kind of understand it. I have like 2 videos on my channel that have 30% likes or something like that. But those were quite incendiary. Speaking of that, that Dead Rising the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster came out, and it's pretty much like I imagined it will be. So it's like a fine remaster. It's yeah, remaster is the word. It's like a fine remaster with a lot of tweaks that are really welcome, but like, man, do I not think it's worth 50 fucking euros, man. Holy. Like, it's nice that they have like full voice. They added new voice. They completely re-recorded the voiceovers, and they are worse than the original. Like, you can feel how much worse they are, which is fucking terrible. But at the same time, they voiced a lot of dialogue that was not voiced in the original, so, you know, that's cool. I very much doubt I would buy the remaster, if only because of the price and size it will take up on my computer. Oh yeah, it's like also very hefty fucking... Very hefty size, or the game does take up some, you know, space on your fucking drive. But like, from everything I have seen, I would consider picking it up on a discount. Like, if it drops to below 20 bucks, then it's like an alright, you know, it's pretty good for like a reduced price. I just don't agree with remastering a game like that and asking fucking 50 bucks for 50 bucks for it, 50 euros, you know, all around, and it has so much like DLC shit pumped into it, which are just costumes. So, and the costumes are fantastic. Like, the bonus costumes are like the best part by far, which is kind of hilarious. why not give a choice which voice to use for the characters? Because TJ Rollo, the guy who voiced Frank West originally, is now in a workers union, and Capcom doesn't like working with union people because they have too many rights. So he probably wouldn't. He wouldn't. He would give his permission to use his voice, but at probably on a stipulation that Capcom wouldn't accept. So, you know, that's why kinda. Yeah, like the new the new suits are hilarious though. Like you can be fucking Nemesis from Resident Evil, or the best one by far, I think, is Ashley from Resident Evil, but it's just like her clothes and a wig and just the fucking angry face of Frank West underneath it all. It's kind of hilarious. And I seen some fucking ridiculous bugs on the internet, man. Like there is some like major problem with hit detection. Like there are less zombies than in the original, and there are like ghost enemies. Sometimes you run through the mall and you get swiped by an enemy that you can't see, and the collision goes out of whack. You get magneted to a wall and you lose your entire fucking HP in like 30 seconds, and you cannot do anything about it. Like Frank just ragdolls up and down the wall and dies. And I seen that bug from multiple sources, man. There is less zombies, yup. There is less zombies on the screen at all times because, you know, it looks better, so it has like higher demands, so... Honestly, the only change that Dead Rising needed was the fire extinguisher to freeze zombies rather than paint them white. That's the only thing I would change. Oh yeah, the how it worked in 2. That's actually true. That would be fine. I fucking love the fire extinguisher in Dead Rising 2, man. Painting the zombies with... why are there less zombies though? Yeah, like I said, it's like more... it's just the graphics, I think. Because the game looks so much better and the zombies are so much detailed, they had to cut the population a little bit. So... See, this is fucking crazy. Meanwhile, Space Marine 2 looks beautiful, takes up 50 gigs, and can have literally hundreds of enemies on the screen. And this is why asking 50 euros from me for Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is fucking ridiculous, because I can add 10 to that and grab myself Space Marine 2. An entirely new fucking game, man, with online co-op. That price is fucking ridiculous. I don't know why people like aren't more salty about that, but we've been over that in the comments to my fucking video, so man. There were times where I saw people who thought they were watching a cutscene with the size of the horde and how good it looks, only to realize it was still gameplay. As bad as Concord being priced for 40 USD. Oh man, I forgot Concord is paid, man. I always think Concord was free to play, and then I remember, no, it fucking wasn't. Space Marine 2 is legit the first game that actually felt like next-gen experience. It's so far about everything else in technical details. Man, don't get my fucking hopes up, man. I really gotta check it out. So yeah, let's get into the videos, gentlemen, shall we? Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2 review by MandaloreGaming. This is one of those like real-time strategies in space, I think. I'm not sure. Haven't like had the chance to get to know this game better. I know Bricky recommended it in his video about like his favorite 40k media. It's kind of weird that everybody always talks about Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2. I'm not sure what happened to 1. Maybe this is like a remake situation, or 1 is included, or I'm not sure. So yeah, I will let Mandalore take it away and, you know, say what he has to say. Oh my, those ships look kinda good. What fucking year is this game from? Okay, seriously, I thought this game is quite a bit older. I'm gonna look it up. Let me just close some windows that I have open. 2000. Okay, this game is from 2019. I thought it's kind of older, but okay, that checks out more. Man, those models look good though.
Wow, we made it to the holidays. I guess there's still time for a meteor or something, but still, congratulations. Now, last time was disappointing. Some good, but a lot really bad. So I figured that I started the year with a good Warhammer game, maybe I should end it with one too. There are likely two main thoughts looking at this. For one, Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2 sounds like the title of a badly translated anime.
Oh man, that's kinda true though. 1 was good, but 2 was just 1 with a new story and better in every way, so 1 got forgotten. Oh. The original tabletop game was way older. Gotcha.
But beyond that, how come I'm not starting with Battlefleet 1? Well, you
Oh, okay, let's go. He's gonna get into it.
don't really need it. For starters, the game only has 4 factions for skirmish and multiplayer. You can get 2 more if you buy each of their DLCs. Compare that to 2, which has 12 and lots of sub-factions.
Okay. Point established.
The same 12 from the actual board game, which I won't be bringing up again because I never played it. And unlike Deathwing, they didn't try to change the board game into a different genre, so I don't think it's relevant. The first game only has a single campaign, the Imperium one. Each ship can very much be its own character with lots of upgrades and RPG progression stuff for them, which is cool and something that 2 isn't as in-depth on. There's still ship progression, just not as customizable. The trade-off for that is a vastly increased scale. You own 3 factions, the Imperial Navy, the Mechanicus, and the Space Marines. So joint operations in a bigger galaxy against more threats is a fair trade. Plus there are 3 different campaigns now and a DLC one, so you're not just stuck playing humans yet again. The graphics, the sound...
Oh, you can fucking play Tyrannid. There's a Tyrannid campaign? Okay, bro. Okay. This is immediately on my radar, though. If you think about it, Warhammer is an anime. Warhammer is an anime where you always get the bad ending. Oh, man.
The interface, the gameplay, just about everything has been improved over 1. The only real reason to go back and play it would be for the campaign and story. There are callbacks to it that come up in 2, but you don't need to have gone back and played it. They give you plenty of context. If you're a fan of the setting, it's definitely a story worth playing, but for the depth and variety in fighting the battles, I think 2 overrides it pretty hard. It could be worth looking into, but with 2, I don't have much to say on it. However, when people say just go back and play the first thing for the story, that's a sign of a good sequel. With that out of the way, let's get started. Battlefleet 2 is all about strategic ship combat. More specifically, you have a flying gun brick the size of a freeway. It's named some shit like the Litany of Litany's Litany. Use it to ram.
Our brothers have fallen.
I bet they have. As far as visuals go, this is great for this kind of game. Each faction's ship is very detailed, and these can scale up to ridiculous sizes. In the tutorial, you might think the massive Chaos Blackstone Fortress will be the big bad of the campaign, until the next mission where it gets smashed down by an even bigger ship.
Holy fuck. That is a flying ass cathedral, man. Holy.
So the stupid size of Warhammer is all there, and it never gets too muddy graphically. Which is good, I don't want my cosmic horror.
Man, oh my fucking god.
So the stupid size of Warhammer is all there, and it never gets too...
I was about to make fun of the fucking nerd-ass Necrons and their monster energy ships.
too muddy graphically. Which is good, I don't want my cosmic horror...
Holy fuck, what is this? Move your fleets closer to Ancient One to defend it? Jesus Christ, this is kind of insane.
To be too blurry. All the different factions and sub-factions means there's a good variety of ships too. All the sub-factions help mix this up even more. Like in the case of Chaos, it's pretty easy to see which god they're aligned with. It is a more dramatic example. Some sub-factions are just recolors, but every little bit is appreciated. The environmental effects, the weapons, and all the effects also look fantastic. Whether it's some kind of super weapon going off or just terrifying natural phenomena, the particle effects are especially good. It looks like something NVIDIA would call intelligent AI smart dust, and then like shackle it to a $1,200 card, but no. It's just well done art direction. The maps have interesting backdrops like nebulas or wreckage or something more dramatic. So no matter what, they're not just shoving you in black space over and over again. It's what I imagine Homeworld would look like if it came out today. Then again, I don't want to get too far into talking about Homeworld in this video. It's all a lot more colorful than I expected, which I welcome. The visuals add a lot of weight and satisfaction to the combat. There aren't many ships per battle, but each one blown up makes me feel warm inside. That also counts Tyranids exploding into blood. I haven't seen blood spaceships since... The only negative I've seen here is that this game is performance heavy. I'm not sure if it's maps or what, because some fights will be smooth and others will be a lot more laggy. The game has crashed a few times too, but I'm not sure if that's related. So there are stability issues and you should proceed with caution. This brings us to how the game sounds. The music sounds like exactly what you'd expect from a 40k game. They go even heavier in the vocals than most, but it's a good addition. The incredible soundscape of the battles themselves is the best part of it, but it's a fitting backdrop. When the music does overtake it, it feels appropriate.
Fury interceptors in flight!
Receiving your order. I am listening. Coordinates acknowledged.
Man, looks a little fucking complicated on the gameplay side, but holy, looks and fucking sounds fantastic, man. The stories also go in very different directions with actual player choices. The Necron ending in particular has a massive change to the status quo, where they usurp everyone to be the galaxy's dominating force again, for instance. That's cool, man. We already have a modern homeworld. Oh, man. Statements that aged very poorly. I imagine this is what modern homeworld would look like. Imagine again. The game has a very high skill gap. Gameplay is complicated, but in a good way. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. I mean, obviously things like that come into play more in Skirmish. Not necessarily the campaign, but that's good for games that have like multiplayer like this. That is a good thing to have.
Changing course.
debt comes due.
Your words are like the droning of scarabs, full of fury but lacking import. I have delivered warning, as protocol demands.
It's well-produced music, and there's a good variety of it. It may not be something weird and new like Mechanicus, but I'd wager it's what most people want. Besides, like I said, the weapon and explosion sounds could stand on their own. That is some crisp artillery.
Oh yeah, that definitely sounds fucking good.
Just excellent. The voice acting also sits at a high bar for the most part, and at the same time it's delivering some excellent writing. Though it is one of those games where what's good is so good that when something's below par it really sticks out.
Those monstrosities, and I find the Imperial Navy has abandoned us. Where is Admiral Spire?
Despite it, every campaign has some memorable moments in it. It's the exact kind of thing I come looking for in 40k games.
I regret that I cannot be there in person, but my plagued apostles will only be too glad to usher you into my grandfather's welcoming embrace.
Your rotten form has clung too long to life. Fear not. We shall bring you the release you so richly deserve.
We all wallow in mortal corruption before long, Admiral. Won't you embrace the gift of entropy?
The Lord Primarch has promised aid, but there is no guarantee when he will arrive.
Primarch, Tsar.
Their leader, Great One. Like them, but taller, I understand. Not to be underestimated.
That's enough about sound. To put it simply, I'd say the space combat is like a more in-depth Empire at War, but sadly not everyone has played that, and there are some key differences. The smallest controllable ships are escort class ones, your standard frigates and destroyers. Now there are smaller craft like fighters and bombers, but you don't control them as directly. They get launched out with their orders from the big dick ships. Bombers can be sent out to do a run on a larger vessel, interceptors can be sent out to fight other fighters, you get the idea. If you're a micro god, I could see being disappointed by this, but you know what? When I see how they fight, I'm glad I can stay out of it. Most small ships can run silent to avoid detection or ping their sensors to try and locate enemy vessels. Beyond that, their loadouts and roles can vary greatly even inside the same faction. It's not just a frigate or a destroyer, there's a few of them, and that goes for every ship. However, escorts are limited by the number of line ships you have, so there's no having an angry beehive of small ships. The overall fleet size is limited by ship tonnage. As a campaign goes on, you unlock a higher cap for it. In skirmish and multiplayer, it's a set number, though this number can get damn high with a warning. You know the drill. The line ships range from coffee sizes of cruisers to battleships and finally Titans. But Titans are saved for special scenarios, so you won't see them all too often. Regardless, each ship has different weapons and features with skills and stances tied to it. These options can get exotic to say the least, but it doesn't take too long to figure out what your race is good at, which brings us right to ship fighting. Most ships have rechargeable shields, a hull, and morale. There are exceptions like Necrons not using shields and regenerating their hulls instead, but I'll be generalizing for simplicity's sake. Besides having a big dumb blue and green bar, each part of the ship is also accounted for. As I said before, the skills are tied to your ship parts, which in battle means they may not work if it's not attached to your ship anymore. No shields if the generator's out. Something could break from a torpedo strike or a Lovecraftian monster. Space is famous as being somewhere where expensive things go to break. If light damage is caught in time, there could be skills to repair it. But when things are in the red, life gets harder. This might all sound overly complex and in-depth, but it's really not. For starters, a lot can be automated to prevent micromanaging. Set your ship's range and orientation and let it go. You can then set the priority of an enemy ship and whether to shoot at weapons or engines or anything.
That's a cool thing to have, because I imagine, micromanaging is always going to be the more optimal strategy, especially if you're playing against human beings. Leaving your ships running on auto is not the ideal play. But yeah, for somebody who's learning or like you're just playing the campaign, that is great, you know. Neon rave space dogfight. Oh yeah. I actually forgot about being able to sneak ships around by keeping their detection low. I wonder how useful that is in multiplayer.
So if you are just starting off, you don't have to juggle everything at once. Other decisions are more...
I wonder how like populated the multiplayer is by now. I imagine this game seems pretty good, so I imagine people still play it.
Common sense. This ship keeps running away, I should probably hit the engines. Damage to you just means your options are more restricted. Your engines getting borked means no maneuver abilities. Some ships, like Imperial ones, can crank it to full speed ahead for a short time, or burn fuel in a high energy turn for elite space drifting, which could allow your vessel's side weapons to unleash a broadside. The battles aren't just a race to the bottom of a green health bar. The capabilities of each fleet also get damaged, and you have to keep adapting to that. What enemy capabilities do you want to get rid of? What ship is worth a limited special attack? The thing is, we're still talking about the physical destruction of the ship, because there's still a yellow bar to mess with. Because sure, you could try to slow an orc ship down, but they're persistent.
Full speed!
Each ship has a hardy crew, but the worse things look, the more they start to seek new management. At 0 morale, the ship might flee the battlefield or do whatever because there's a mutiny afoot. This could happen while the ship is still relatively healthy. Killing their leader's flagship who can restore morale is a good start. You could also use abilities to terrify the enemy crew or take the more direct route. By that I mean sending troops aboard to murder them. They can cause all kinds of chaos, maybe start some fires. Though, yeah, killing the crew is the main goal here. As a ship loses crew, everything it does takes more and more time, reloading weapons, using engines, everything. This gets more severe until eventually, everyone's dead. Then there's a nice husk of a ship to take apart. And no, typically you don't want to leave it floating, because it could seem harmless, but people can board troops right back onto their own empty ships. It'll be slower, but still more guns you shouldn't have to worry about. Oh, there they go again. So managing crew and morale is just as important as a health bar. A mass execution really gets coworkers back on track. Make death work for you. This guy won't make it, but I won't waste it.
The spirits obey!
Based. Based beyond belief.
Mechanicus vessel non-functional.
Perfect. This whole setup is fantastic. There are so many elements to keep track of with usually pretty even sides that the battles are always stimulating. The variety of factions helps stop fights from playing out the same, because what tactic works on one will not work on another. My biggest issue with it is movement. It's not bad, but it's charted in a stiff way. Lines can show where your ship is heading towards, but they won't plot the exact path they're going, as in plotting out the turns and what they'll actually have to do to get there. Which isn't a huge deal, but it would be nice to have, especially when ships can get so close in fighting. You do have the option of slowing down time to be very exact, but still. I also couldn't find a formation move of any kind, which was also strange. Second, some maps have hazards like exploding space jellyfish, solar flares, or space whales, along with obstacles like gas clouds to hide ships in or asteroid fields. But I would have liked if some maps had space terrain. I don't know how to put it. Big asteroids or wreckage or something that blocks the map off. Just as an option since most of the maps are so open. It's a 2D plane anyways, it's not like the game uses full 3D space combat. Once again, not sorely needed, but it would add some good map variation. So all good in the fights. Now for the campaigns. You could expect the campaigns to be a back-to-back series of skirmish missions. I thought for sure that's what I was in for. Instead, the Imperium campaign alone was over 25 hours. And it's a light...
What the fuck? Is he fucking kidding? Oh my god.
Game. No, this will be concise. For starters, the campaigns can also be played in online co-op. You're given a lot of information starting off, but it's not as complicated as it might seem. Fleets can be moved around the map and you can capture systems inside them. Then you can develop and build on them, but only in a set way. Each planet has its own special lore and properties, and you're not going to mess with that. You're running an armada, not government housing. You can check what planets have and how they affect your economy or your fleet. If it's something that looks good, you can upgrade it, but only twice. Of course, a big system could have a lot of planets, and some planets are much more useful than others. A system could be a place where you could build a big space station on it to help you out in battles. Or a shipyard, and only the bigger, more elaborate shipyards can make the biggest ships. As the campaign goes on, the map expands. It almost becomes a quasi-40k Total War. It even has the shitty auto-resolve battles. Feels like I'm right at home. There are side missions to complete and battles have bonus objectives, and as you complete them all, you earn renown. It's a fancy level up. You earn a new technology each time, but that's tied to ship rank. As ships survive missions, they naturally get better at what they do. They give bonuses for it already, but the tech tree lets you enhance that even further. So in combat, it could be worth making a ship disengage to save your crew, but the fire escape stairs through hell won't be free. They could come back with some trauma or a demon problem, but come on, who hasn't this year? It is a risky, time-consuming maneuver, and by the time you use it, it could already be too late, so it is worth keeping special ships alive. The tonnage rule applies to the campaign, too. That stops sending a death stack in. Every ship counts. There's also a doom timer going, which makes things harder when you're not completing missions. There are ways to reduce it, and it does reset after completing a task. But if it fills all the way up, it's game over. It's not crazy short, it's mainly to prevent serious turtling. This goes for all the campaigns too, and they're not horribly different on the map side. The Necrons are almost identical to the Imperium except for how they move around the galaxy. The Imperium and everyone else uses space lanes to get from cluster to cluster. Everyone uses lanes inside of them too, but these ones are different, all connected. Instead, Necrons have a designated gate system they can jump between. They always appear and disappear from one location. There it is. They're very different in battle, but not too far in campaign. The Tyranids do take things farther. Instead of capturing worlds, they devour them whole. You even get the special technology by eating planets. Systems can also be pre-seeded for invasions, thanks to crafty gene stealer infiltration. Structures can be weakened for the impending invasion, and other debuffs stack up too, culminating in the place being taken over automatically. They are more of a locust swarm.
Man, I really want to play that fucking Tyranid campaign, because that sounds interesting as all hell. He's not kidding. That's a campaign length that would make Kojima proud. No fucking kidding, man. Holy. They decided to do a full story in their story campaign, which is kind of wild and also funny to say, but you know, in a strategy game, that is kind of wild though. The timer is very generous and doesn't hide how generous it is, so it's not like Mechanicus where it just scares new players. That's certainly good, because yeah, like I said, the Mechanicus timer really, like, I really didn't like that feature personally.
But they still have reasons to hold systems. Now mechanically these campaigns are all fine, but as things start to scale up, they become more clunky. It seems like the interface didn't account for the game ever being at this scale. Managing multiple fleets and sectors is awkward to do, and it's easy to forget something. It looks like a 4X, but it is a lot more leashed in. For example, you can barge in and invade an enemy system whenever you want, but on their end it could take between 1 to several turns to give you time to prepare, because the mechanics aren't fleshed out enough to account for proper fortifying. It's in a weird spot where they could flesh out into a proper grand campaign style of game, but it's not there, so parts of it are awkward to interact with. Which brings us to the issue with the DLC.
Mankind languishes in a tumultuous galaxy. Its potential shackled by a corpse on a gilded throne.
It's a strong opening, and how are they going to follow that up?
There is little glory in escorting transport ships while the Aegis Ocularis burns. Patience. Like a fortress, glory must have solid foundations. This escort mission is but the...
No fucking way. Oh my god, imagine starting up a fucking demon campaign to an escort mission. Holy.
First step on the path.
Why would you start with an escort mission? What?
Yeah, that's so weird.
What year is it? Forget it. Back on track. To give some more context, all the campaigns have great stories. I'd say the human one with Admiral Spire is the most substantial, but the other ones are good too. When your story begins with a Mechanicus and Necron team up, something interesting is bound to happen. And they do. There's a wealth of characters and events and twists and turns. It's not the kind of story I'd want to talk about in a play-by-play fashion, but it's a fun ride. The Imperium wants control of the area back. The Necrons are awakening their dynasty with all the internal political struggle you'd expect.
I merely counsel caution. Arrogance is a poor shield.
The Tyranids are out to eat everyone, which isn't a very compelling narrative on its own, so instead you follow the galaxy reacting to them.
Holy Emperor, I can hear them in the walls!
They're well-written adventures and a fine framework to hang skirmish battles on, but they probably could have cut down on the amount of systems and it wouldn't have hurt the game too much. In contrast to this, the Chaos campaign is much more of a slog. On the map they mainly play like the Imperium, but they also have a Chaos God mechanic. Certain planets can be dedicated to a god to gain their favor. Using favor, you can summon a fleet dedicated to that god, each with their own different thematic special abilities. Or you could use favor to affect an enemy system, similar to the Tyranids. Sounds good so far. Well, the first issue is that Khorne and Nurgle blow the other two out of the water, so the choices are less compelling. Outside of battle, your system effects are pretty bad and you have lots and lots of invasions to deal with. To be fair, the campaign difficulty can be heavily customized outside of the stock options, so you could tweak the map to be less oppressive. There are fun missions to play. One of the first ones is the Alpha Legion hijacking a cruiser. If it was all in the base game, I wouldn't think much of it, but it's a value issue. Chaos is already in the base game. You can play them in skirmish and multiplayer. So you'd be paying $13 only to play them in campaign. That doesn't seem worth it to me. If you got a whole new race and their campaign, sure, but for one already in the game, I don't think so. Overall, it's still a great game. I had fun.
That's a little bit of a strange choice.
In single player and multiplayer, and there is crossplay for matchmaking. However, crossplay won't work for invite-only stuff like campaigns or custom skirmish battles. The stability and performance is an issue which I hope is addressed, but the game hasn't been patched in a long while. It's also worth mentioning the game uses easy anti-cheat. Most people don't have an issue with it, and I never have personally, but I was on the other side of that for years and years with that piece of shit Punk Buster. So this is a warning for those of you who have had a bad history with the program. I feel your pain. After negotiating, it'll be 60% off in the pinned link for a while, though with recent events, we'll see how this kind of thing goes in the future. That'll be enough Warhammer for a while. There's a new year coming with a lot to cover. I'll see you then. Genuinely thanks for watching. It's been rough. Still, next year could get better. So I might as well try to think forward and not about everything, because Christ.
Ain't that the fucking truth,
Another
brother?
day. Have a great holiday. By the way, if you do cutscenes in like a motion graphics style, never ever do this.
Study. Go. Make your studies.
It was fine from far. Why would
Yeah.
you? Hey.
Whoops. Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
Hey,
oh my
people.
fucking
Seth.
god! Stop, Seth. Please give me a second, man.
Do this.
Study. Go.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking bad. Just wanted to say. Oh my! Wow, this is holy. This is a lot of content for an RTS kind of game. Holy shit, bro. Seth is too powerful, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of goddamn. That's a good goddamn package, you know? It's fucking skirmish, multiplayer, co-op, fucking co-op campaign in a goddamn RTS. My brother in Christ. And not like any RTS, it's also a really good RTS in the 40k universe. My god. That's really, really cool. And yeah, that was Battlefield Gothic Armada 2 review by MandaloreGaming. For those of you watching later on YouTube, thank you very much for watching and joining me. And yeah, subscribe if you would like more content like this. Join my streams maybe. They're usually announced a couple of days in advance, at least scheduled, not announced. And yeah. That's the video. Thanks. And on this stream, we will be moving on to the Seth thing.
Hey, people. Seth.
So yeah, this is gonna be quick, I guess. A League of Legends review, 4K edition by SsethTzeentach. 5 minute 30 video about League, of all things. Yeah, I said it before. In one of Seth's recent reviews, there was a bit where he shown some League footage. And I was like, oh my god, I think Seth is back into playing League, which is sad, but it happens. I got back into League this year too, because there was like a PvE co-op mode, which was fun as fuck. They stole a bunch of mechanics from Vampire Survivors, so it was bound to be fun. But then I was like, maybe I should play some maybe I should play some PvP with my friends. And yeah, League sucks. League is a goddamn waste of time. Holy shit. Relapse into addiction, huh? Oh man. League is one hard to break fucking addiction. Holy, that is an understatement. But yeah, let's... I have no idea what this video is gonna be about. Is he like... what does he have to say about it? Probably something like I said, that he relapsed and now he's trying to get out or something. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he found a new calling in life and in being a League streamer on Twitch. Yeah, let's just let Seth take it away, you know?
Hey people, Seth here. What is a League of Legends? That's a very good question. On the surface, it's a MOBA, which is still popular, despite most games ending after top or mid feeds free kills. A snowball of mistakes which start the moment you begin queuing. Win or lose, the only victory is choosing not to play. Each day, I leave a dirty dish on the counter. Each day I come back, and the ants establish a new Silk Road to carry my table scraps. League players are much the same. They're conditioned for abuse and return to their abuser without fail, because they're going to change for real this time. Door dashing, a bottom-friendly diet, prepares the League player for a lifetime of incontinence, as they get shafted daily by Riot Games. Cumclaw going...
Oh, okay, but my boy is playing Master G Jungle, and I respect that. They fucking massacred that character from what I've seen, so... Wait, streaming at a normal time for me, peak. Yeah, I've been talking about that. Today I decided to stream a little bit later just to see, you know, if any new faces show up to the stream, if anything like at all changes, so... yeah, glad to be of service, you know.
My brain. I'm gonna die, are the last words of each individual that subjugates their white matter to League. Their lifeless body is found at the computer, and their parents cry
okay,
as
that was just his quality. I thought my fucking quality dropped to like 240. Thinking about League and Arcane, I kind of wonder when we'll get next Wakfu, where a Medicare game gets a shockingly great for Season 1 TV show. Oh yeah! Kinda true.
Explained to the coroner that the purple-skinned midget dwarves their son was fapping to was in fact popular characters Lulu and Tristana from League of Legends. And this will be your fate should you ignore my warnings. The big question on everyone's mind is Dota 2 better than... Yes it is. Then again, this is a comparison between playing with emotionally unstable Germans and whoever hasn't been conscripted to the front lines. They're not playing to win, they're playing to forget, because this is their last solo queue before getting deployed to Donbass. Additionally, every dollar spent on League is a dollar spent on the 2027 reunification of Chinese Taipei. Every dollar spent on Dota is another calorie consumed by Gabe Newell. But you'll never play that, because all the female bot lane characters are in League, and you'll continue in the hopes of finding a mentally unstable e-girl with borderline personality disorder. So her
Oh man, that fucking game was so mid. The streamer whatever, Overload, I forget what it's called. G will be... you will forever be fun though, because of a dodge and CC block. Yeah, man, the fucking Alpha Strike dodge makes you feel shit you don't even feel on drags, man. When you dodge like Morgana Q while Alpha Striking, my god, does it feel fucking fantastic. But his damage output has been so like shitted on by Riot. only play League because of character designs are better, and I hate the floaty feeling of Dota. The character designs of League are unironically really fucking great, and that's why I keep hoping they will release that goddamn fucking MMO at some point, so I can have like the stories of League and the character designs of League outside of League, because I hate League. I only follow League just to look at the furries in it. True man of culture. I don't even recall that one. Oh, what the fuck is it called? Streamer something overload like has been like a really fucking popular indie game a couple of years ago, but it was I really think it was overhyped as all hell. So it's like an Overwatch situation with the not safe for work art. Kinda, yeah. They have some like really strong designs, and obviously a lot of you know, female characters. So needy streamer overload, yeah, that's the one. And like a lot of female characters, so Twitter artists of, and a lot of furry ones lately too, I've noticed they have been shipping way more furry characters lately. That is undeniable. I know what you're fucking playing, Riot Games. I know what you're doing. So yeah, the Twitter artists, I think, who don't even touch this game also like following it, so.
Insane demonic genes may combine with your autism. You will flood the earth with your autistic, nonverbal offspring. The meek shall inherit bronze free, which by that point will be even lower, and the average rank will be driftwood 5. Son, I have a confession to make. I invested your entire trust fund into based Groy per coin, and unfortunately, I lost everything. Luckily, I still had $500 to buy the new Faker Ari skin. Please, don't rope yourself. Think of how much rope I'm going to be shooting when your diabetic mother cosplays her at PAX East. Unfortunately, we're in debt, and I'm forced to sell you off to a wealthy, charismatic homosexual. Please, forgive me in the same way that I've already forgiven myself. You couldn't understand the philosophy of his company.
Oh man. This feels like a fucking classic Seth video all of the sudden, huh?
By seeing which champions they release. After all, they know their audience. Women for the pornsick gooners, women for the release. After all, they know their audience.
I would like to specify this is a furry woman. This is one of the new characters, and she classifies as a furry too. So Seth is not onto Seth is not onto Riot as well as I am. They are releasing way more furry stuff lately. This is part of that. So
women for the pornsick gooners, women for the e-kittens dating them, and children for Jax players. Why even spend money on gifting your e-girl skins when you can save 80% by lacing her drinking water with fluoxetine for the same effect? I have a theory about League, and it pertains to all mainstream.
I fucking love the random drops in quality. I still think the best furry joke I heard was somebody who opposed furry conventions on the grounds that if a fire happened and they died, the world's IT departments would be crippled. That is kind of true. And like those fucking fursuits would catch on fire, which is, I'm pretty sure, OSHA, some kind of OSHA violation. Bro, I know someone who actually bought it for an e-girl. F's in the chat for my boy out there. He's lost in the sauce, bro.
Multiplayer games, chat filters, and moderation.
Man, speaking of, I had a female friend that had like all of the looks skins, and I was always so fucking confused because like you can only use one at the time, and she would always just use the newest one. There was even like one piece of shit skin that costs so much, man, and it was like two colors. There was like a dark color version and light color version of the same skin. They cost so fucking much. She bought both of them. Bro, I know she fucking works like a minimum wage back-breaking job, and she fucking spends it on League skins. I shouldn't judge. Everybody is free to do with their cash what they want, but holy fuck, are you serious, man? That's what you're gonna spend on? And mind you, I'm talking about a person who worked for fucking in Polish economy and spent on like League skins are not they are adjusted for Polish zloty, but not that well. The League skins are expensive as fuck in Poland, man. Holy fuck.
Don't fix the problem. They only serve to stifle the Aryan spirit. Now, everyone's become a little tattletale.
I can't fucking... this is a 5-minute video that will turn into an hour and a half rant because League brings out the worst in me, and I have so many stories of different people I knew.
Skirting around the rules, trying to infuriate you so they can send their epic report to Daddy Riot. You know what this makes you? You're the same as that one kid who cries to the...
Also, did you know that basically using the chat in 2024 just gets you banned no matter what you write? Like, it's so wild to me. Basically, like, anything in the chat can be... anything in the chat can be used against you, I guess. But you can run it down and have like 0 kills, 20 deaths, and Riot will say, oh, he had a bad game, man. I know he ran repeatedly into the tower and died, but he had a bad game. And maybe he's learning on your fucking Gold 5 ranked match. Maybe he's learning. He's just a baby. He's a little guy, man. League seems to bring out the worst in everyone, even those who know nothing about it. Yeah.
Principle. Snitches get stitches, and if it were up to me, we'd take you to Birmingham and stone you to death in Sharia court. You cannot suppress the human condition.
Did he fucking make this video only to get all of his like jokes out that he normally can't with a sponsor on the line?
We are the sons of the retards you could not lobotomize. Similarly, Vanguard doesn't prevent cheating. The only purpose of it is for Shishu Hongshu, intern at Riot Games, to push a bad update and destroy my computer. You know how you cheat in this game? You make a smurf, and then you're at a level playing field because everyone else made one before you. At this point, there's no such thing as a new player, only a Yasuo main who can't leave silver. Despite this, Riot will never do anything, which is probably for the best, as any decision they've ever taken is always the worst. Come back in a few years when surrender votes start at 10 minutes, and simply thinking of a racial slur activates Vanguard. League is an ontological anchor in time. We represent our lives not in years, but as emotion before and after quitting League. Tyler 1 got permabanned, now he's a father. Video Game Donkey banned himself, now he's pregnant. I got 30-day chat restricted. Now I take subcutaneous clitoral injections of 5cc trenbolone, and I've never felt better. League is the demiurge. To break out of this asylum, you must realize there is no lock or key, and we may simply walk away. Despite my critique, there is a purpose to League. It's the best psychological evaluation out there. Forget the...
I mean, League League, unironically, is great for the online environment because it acts like an asylum. People willingly walk in and they stay there for years, and they don't play like your favorite online game. So it is cleaner than it can be. You know, the environment is cleaner thanks to that. And yeah.
BTI or whatever. We need to conduct job interviews by making the applicant play League of Legends. Everything you need to know about a person's character, you'll learn from watching ranked solo queue. And make sure he's playing a support. If your friendship can withstand League, it's already tested, and we stand as brothers. I rendered this in 4K on my MacBook Pro. Hopefully, the extra effort comes through. The personal computer is a modern manifestation of Solomon's Temple. Leaving a pulmonary embolism on Google servers is the least I can do. Initially, I thought a lot of people complaining about audio were audiophiles. These are people who molest music instead of children. It is my unfortunate discovery that after 5 years of doing this full time, that I have been recording audio with an XLR microphone without installing any drivers. However, like a mama bird vomiting my regurgitated food into your mouth, I know what you truly need. So, it has been unfortunate for the listener that I must inform you I've uninstalled them and have no intention of getting better. In fact, I'll make it worse. As always, more content to come, so stay tuned. A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild, gang stalking my enemies until they die. You're all truly wonderful. I have no idea who these men are, and I'm not complicit in any crimes. Your Honor, have a good...
Beautiful. That was beautiful, you know. By the way, 5-minute video into 1-hour rant, don't be ashamed. Wendigoon kept fear pausing upon seeing the oldest view coming into full view. Okay. Gotta go deep. Yeah, see you, man. Thank you for joining the stream. And yeah, this video, honestly, everything I expected from this video has been here, so... Yeah, I was pretty spot on. Seth relapsed, sadly, and he is clearly regretting that choice. This what you're seeing on the screen right now is a scream for help. He is manifesting his will to not play League of Legends anymore. Like that voice deep inside his brain, like clouded by all the racial slurs swimming in there because his fucking AD carry is building the most dogshit build you have ever seen in your entire life and is refusing to play defensively after going 0-8. So like, yeah, we need to support this man. We need to help him. League is a heavy addiction to break, and yeah, this is probably gonna make for a short video, huh? But yeah, kind of what I expected. I mean, this Seth's video is literally 5 minutes 30 seconds, so but more Seth is always, you know, I'm always grateful for more Seth, even if it's fucking League content. Holy. So yeah, for those of you watching later on YouTube, that's it. Your soul is now free to roam the eternal plains. And on the stream, don't worry, he found peak in his next video. Oh, goody. Yeah, on the stream, we'll be moving on to a little bit of Jacob Geller, and then hopefully we'll have enough time left for 2 more videos. So, you know, I'm not gonna pause as much, and I'm not gonna like talk too long. So the best looking game ever in quotations by Jacob Geller. I'm assuming this is a dive into the obsession with good-looking graphics in gaming. You know, there have been times where people looked at fucking PS1, some PS1 games, and they went, gaming is not gonna get much prettier than this. And then it got a lot prettier to you could say to it kinda turned out badly for the industry as a whole. This obsession with good-looking games, you know. So yeah, I'm interested to see what Jacob has to say in this video. So yeah, I'm just gonna let him take us through it.
I'm a little surprised at the number of ways Hellblade 2 feels like a regression from the first game.
I haven't fucking played Hellblade 2. I don't think I'm gonna, because everything I have heard about it is like, it's pretty mid, so... Best looking game ever really should never mean most realistic looking game. Oh yeah, I mean, best looking game ever already exists, and it's called Cruelty Squad. Yeah, everything costs so much, takes so much time, and results in less experimentation than before. Yeah, exactly, because they are chasing that, chasing the dragon of the most cinematic looking fucking game, and then you are like, cool, this game is dog shit. I'm gonna go play 20 more hours of fucking Buckshot Roulette, which is an indie fucking polygon deprived game on Steam for €3 that or $3 if you're into that, you know. And it's like, it's such a great fucking game. Holy hell. So yeah, like, it's no wonder AAA games are getting their ass kicked pretty badly. Like, I think this year, save for Space Marine 2, I haven't played that yet, so I might, you know, I must hold out my opinion on that. But like, overall, I think like indie games kinda kicked the fucking ass of AAA industry. There have been so many gems, like, holy shit. It'd be like saying photographs made other art worthless. Yeah, exactly, man.
Hellblade 1: Senua's Sacrifice was developed by a team of only about 20 developers at Ninja Theory and released in 2017. Although limited in scope, the game is ambitious. It's tackling a complex area of mental health that takes place in a world that oscillates between punishingly grounded and nightmarishly surreal, and the whole thing rests on the back of the main character's performance, as portrayed by then untested actor Melina Juergens. Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga was announced in 2019. In fact, it was the very first game announced for the new generation of Xbox consoles. The first game had been an unlikely hit. Ninja Theory was acquired by Microsoft, the game's team size ballooned from 20 developers to closer to 100, and then in 2024, we all finally got to play it. And it's interesting, you know?
Tale as old as time, brother. Tale as old as time. I would wait on Space Marine 2. It's still pretty buggy, but it's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, like, I have a list to go through. Space Marine can wait like a month or something. It's a very much a Freeman game. And you get bugs that ruin story, like not having cutscenes play. Holy. Like I said, I am in no rush. Usually there are some like there are some like small things at release for those big games, you know. So yeah, I'm willing to wait because, like I said, there are other things I'm playing like at the moment. So, but before the end of the year, I will for sure like play Space Marine 2 to check it out. I do think Senua's Sacrifice has one really great scene at the very end about moving on despite your grief, but that's it. I haven't even like played the first one, the first Senua's Sacrifice. Sounds like a bug that sounds like a bug that might happen in multiplayer. That's kind of sad. It never happens to the... Yeah, exactly. There are some like... When you're playing with other people, it's kind of a different game than single player. When it comes to like... Just new bugs manifest in online games that would never happen in single player. I know because I played Payday 2 for years, and you would play that solo while you were the host, and everything would be perfectly fine, and then you go online and you see like bugs upon bugs upon bugs. Honestly, the first Senua game can be skipped if you look up the a life without loss is a life without love speech. I don't know. Maybe at some point, because this was such a culture. I remember Senua's Sacrifice 1 was such a cultural, like, it was truly a revolutionary game on the topic that it generated so much discussion about making video games and like how good a video game by a smaller team can look and things like that. So I don't know that I might check it out just on top of just out of that, but it never like seemed like a game that I'm super interested in. So
it's still pulling from that mix of real and surreal. It's still about Senua dealing with her psychosis. Melina Juergens is delivering another pretty unimpeachable performance. But there's a weird amount of stuff that feels missing from that previous smaller team and scrappier development. The first game had pretty memorable boss fights with a variety of creatures, but Hellblade 2 wholly excises bosses and doesn't even let you fight multiple guys at the same time. In Senua's Sacrifice, the game whisked us to a ton of memorable locations. There's a whole damn level in the Sea of Corpses. Senua's Saga centers itself totally in Iceland and struggles to make individual environments stand out. The first game was a focused story on Senua's growth, her desperate struggle against prior trauma, and its enduring...
Man, he's really selling the first one to me with some of those visuals. Those are fucking great, man.
Rot. Hellblade 2 feels a little aimless in comparison. A story with more characters, but less to say. But there's this caveat to all my complaints, because whenever I would start feeling the repetition of combat or environments, whenever I would wonder why exactly I was supposed to care about these characters, my frustration would be assuaged by a quite literally superficial fact. Hellblade 2 is the best looking game I've ever played. While playing Hellblade 2, a solid portion of my brain was devoted to this ongoing feat. A threatening slaver strides towards Senua, and that part of my brain goes, I've never seen someone emerge from the fog like that in a game before. She pulls herself agonizingly up a battered rock wall, and I think, I can't believe how well her hands are interacting with the geometry of that environment. tortured by visions of monsters, she shuts her eyes, and I think, oh my god, I can actually see her eyeballs moving beneath her eyelids. And in some ways, this feels like the wrong way to interact with the game, right?
Yeah, I get what he's saying. That's kind of fucking funny. But the multiple enemy fights had one of the coolest interactions with her psychosis. The voices in your head would warn you about the movements of enemies outside of your camera's view. That's fucking baller. Oh my god, that's a great mechanic, man.
Senua's Saga wants to be an emotionally impactful story of bravery and resilience. It wants to immerse you in its world and trick you into thinking its characters are real, and I'm sitting here instead admiring the cloud volumetrics. I sometimes wonder how to balance that conflict between the two wolves inside me, the tech enthusiast and the thoughtful critic. I mean, that conflict is incredibly clear just within Hellblade 2. I don't think it's a coincidence that the game's mechanics are so scaled back. At the same time, the graphics have been pushed to such extreme heights. What did Hellblade 2 sacrifice to look this good? Is the reason that the game lacks the boss fights or stunning realms of the first game because creating those same assets at this fidelity was prohibitively expensive? And maybe most importantly, how long will that trade-off hold up? I still enjoyed my time with Hellblade 2 despite its many flaws because its visuals do genuinely feel like they're showing me something I've never seen in a game before. But graphics like these, graphics operating at the peak of technical ability, age. They age fast.
True.
I said Hellblade 2 is the best looking game I've ever played. That's the truth. Before this, though, Red Dead Redemption 2 was the best looking game I'd ever played. Or Mirror's Edge, or I don't know, the Hydro Thunder arcade cabinet.
Yeah, that's the thing about the best looking game, man. That's the thing about the best looking game.
The best looking game of all time is the most moving target in gaming, a position that's absolutely impossible to hold on to.
Oh man, remember when everybody lost their shit about Crysis? Holy fuck, I forgot Crysis is actually a franchise that exists.
Because something else will inevitably come to supplant you. You might think this makes discussions of the quality of graphics less meaningful then. Why spend so much time on something that will inevitably be outdated? But
okay,
it's this inevitability.
Okay, but
on something that.
But Resident Evil Remake 2 looks fucking fantastic, and it's one of the best games you will ever play mechanics-wise when it comes to survival horror. So you know, don't put my baby in there, okay? Don't put my baby into the montage, okay? I know where you live, Jacob. Remember Half-Life 2's amazingly lifelike models? Oh man.
Will inevitably be outdated. But it's this inevitability that I think makes these discussions more interesting. Because the context of any given date's best...
Oh man. Is this fucking Doom 3? This is Doom 3, right?
...looking game ever tells us...
Doom 3 looked that bad? No, okay. Doom 3 looked better in gameplay because of the amazing fucking light and shadow play.
Huge amount about that era's technical leaps and hurdles, what could just be achieved, and how much that achievement cost. We can all name games that look timeless, that pursue a clearly defined artistic style. I spent plenty of time discussing the many routes a game can take to look beautiful, but today I want to regress, in a way, to talk about games that chase the most obvious and most elusive target, games that don't want to be the most graphically impressive of their style, but the most impressive full stop. As those games aged, as they slipped from a vision of the future to an artifact of the past, what became of their visual legacy? What is the afterlife of the best looking game ever.
Ooh, that's good. That's good, man. That's good. This is why you make At the Dead of Night, a fantastic indie gem that used live action actors in a horror game and integrated them in a way that feels like witchcraft when I was playing them. Things don't have to be the best looking by sacrificing uniqueness or style. But that's for stylized games, you know. I think what he's saying is kind of true. Like, if you want to make the best looking game now for our technology, you almost have to sacrifice fucking everything else. And it's not that great of a trade-off. Because you sacrifice the game's legacy because, yeah, those games aren't that remembered, you know. This is a very interesting topic. Let me just kind of readjust myself. I think like two best looking games that are cool, like really decent to play still are like probably the two Half-Lives, right? Is the right answer. Like, I still love fucking going through Ravenholm in Half-Life, man. I replay that game like once every a couple of years. And there are like some amazing, fucking great looking game that still, that went for the looks, and they are still timeless because both Silent Hill and fucking Metal Gear Solid as a franchise, they were always great looking for their time. And they are still great looking. I think Half-Life 2 still looks great because it's inspired in design, direction, and cohesion. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair to say. I wonder if Senua 2 will be surreal enough to be remembered. Even mediocre properties like a film called Dragon Hunters has surreal sequence about the end of the world that lives rent-free in my head, where the show went from 5 out of 10 to 10 out of 10 for 3 minutes. I mean, gotta save up. If you want to have that cool high budget scene, then you gotta take away the budget from some other scenes, you know. Oh, fucking The Order. Oh my god.
So before we start,
there is literally a fucking there is literally The Order behind me on a shelf in a plastic little box, and I forget it exists every single day, man. And then I look at the box and go, oh yeah, The Order existed.
Word on capture quality. While my ability to talk about gaming history is decent for a random guy on the internet, my ability to capture this same history is woefully inadequate. I'm talking about 40 years of gaming history here, and with unlimited time and access to hardware, I would perfectly record each game I'm talking about in its original environment and resolutions. However, I actually have very little time, and even PS2 games are absurdly expensive now, let alone something like a Laserdisc. The games you'll see in this video are...
I mean, fucking Metal Gear 1 good luck getting your hands on a fucking copy of Metal Gear 1 for the PS1, man. Holy.
Instead recorded using a hodgepodge of methods, some natively, some emulated, some generously donated by other folks online. Even if I did get it all off the appropriate machines myself, it still wouldn't be an accurate vision of what they looked like at the time. Our screens are...
Yeah, the screens changed, man, and that the CRT static for those older like PlayStation 1 games and shit, that can be recreated now.
Different. The way we display images has fundamentally changed. All that is to say, my depictions of these games aren't perfect. Now, we return to our regularly scheduled programming. A mental game I like to play sometimes is basically the gaming equivalent of, what if you gave a medieval peasant a Dorito? That is, what if I took my current computer with its 8-core processor and 12 gigabytes of VRAM back to the 80s? What if I showed an arcade full of young Gen Xers Hellblade, or Cyberpunk, or Spider-Man? Would they even be able to grasp that they were looking at a game? Would their heads explode? Before I started blowing minds, though, I'd probably ask them what they thought the best-looking game ever was. And if I time-traveled to 1986, I bet I'd get a lot of people saying, Defender of the Crown. What? The Amiga 1000, or simply...
What the fuck is the Defender of the Crown? I don't know that game, man. Do you guys know that game?
The Commodore Amiga at time of release was not marketed primarily as a gaming machine. It would have been absurd to do so. It was released the same year as the Nintendo Entertainment System, but where the NES retailed for $200, the Amiga 1000 cost $1,285, and that's without the monitor. The Amiga wasn't just a gaming system, it was a personal computer, complete with art and video programs and a whole host of other features. But Computer Gaming World magazine still described it as a machine designed for games. And for $1,300 in the 80s, it needed to deliver some visuals you couldn't see anywhere else. Enter Cinemaware, a development studio with dreams of turning games into stunning interactive movies. They arguably never got closer to this goal than with their very first game, Defender of the Crown. It is not a complex game. Jimmy Marr of the digital
I think about this once in a while. Pregnancy tests have technically better CPUs than back then. Pregnancy test Doom was a funny video. Imagine taking a pregnancy test back to 1970s and seeing people fight over the incredible technology. Holy shit, man. That's funny.
Antiquarian describes it as basically Risk played on a map of England, and says it manages the neat trick of being both too hard and too easy. But, like Hellblade 2, you wouldn't be coming to Defender of the Crown for its deep mechanics. Looking at Defender of the Crown in 2024, what you're likely to be compelled by is really skillfully done pixel art. For example, there's this scene where you raid a castle and your character casts a huge dramatic shadow on the wall behind him. Other compositions play with chiaroscuro lighting, jousting scenes have dozens of people in the audience, the racy romance scenes even feature seemingly transparent clothing when silhouetted by a fire. These effects are artistic sleight of hand. They're manually drawn in. Things like real-time shadowing wouldn't even be dreamed of for years. Instead, appreciating what was so revolutionary about Defender of the Crown requires remembering that simply rasterizing screens of this size, detail, and color was unheard of at home. Defender of the Crown released the same year as The Legend of Zelda and Kid Icarus. The difference between those and this...
That is kind of wild when you get the side by side, kinda. Man.
feels monumentally more impressive than the jump from, I don't know, 480p to 4K. What the Amiga was showing sat more comfortably among full arcade machines, and often surpassed even them. And ultimately, Defender of the Crown is just a simplified game of Risk, with artfully constructed, mildly interactive animations that play in the middle. The visuals really are the appeal, as was demonstrated when the game was ported to other, less graphically powerful systems. Mar writes, "Virtually all the ports were much better games than the Amiga version, fixing the minigames to make them comprehensible and reasonably entertaining, and tightening up the design. Even so, it remained and remains the Amiga version that most people find most alluring."
I fucking wonder why, brother.
Without the remains entertaining and the Amiga version.
What the
Mar
fuck?
writes,
No, seriously. What console was this version for?
Virtually all the ports were much better games than the Amiga version, fixing the mini. Even so,
funny.
it remained and remains the Amiga version that most people find most alluring. Without those beautiful graphics, there just doesn't seem to be all that much point to Defender of the Crown. Once again, visual fidelity is matched with compromised interactivity. But Defender of the Crown mattered as a vision of the future. Developers who came up in the 80s will still talk about seeing Defender of the Crown for the first time, having their idea of the potential of graphics expanded by these screens. The Amiga itself was a tremendously important machine for gaming as a medium, not just for playing games, but creating them. The art and soundtracks for many games were created using Amiga computers, the hardware adopted in wide swaths by developers inspired by its art. It showed them a peek of what the future might look like. It's worth contrasting Defender of the Crown with another game 3 years its senior, a game that arguably had an even greater claim to the title of best-looking game ever, the lovingly drawn, soul-crushingly difficult Dragon Slayer.
Ah, classic.
Dragon's Lair, a fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon.
Dragon's Lair might be the pinnacle of mechanics sacrificed for visual fidelity.
Yeah.
Comprised entirely of pre-animated snippets, every scene of Dragon's Lair exists as a simple binary. Hit the correct button at the correct time and the animation plays to completion. Mistime your input or hit any other button and the animation is interrupted by the, also lovingly drawn, game over screen. Dragon's Lair is, as many others have pointed out, basically a game-long QuickTime event. The game has almost exactly 22 minutes of possible gameplay, because that's how much footage the animators made for it. Compared to even the most basic video games, the possibility space for Dragon's Lair is severely limited.
But it does look cool as fuck. Okay, now Dragon's Lair is another one that had near immortal level difficulty. Yeah, man, like those, the timings for some of that shit was so dumb. And correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't this in fucking arcades? Didn't people pay money to play this and fucking die because it was hard as hell?
And while today we might look back and see similarities between Dragon's Lair's pre-animated cinematics and the barely interactive pixel art of Defender of the Crown, it's worth noting that these games are doing radically different things. Defender of the Crown was a game using actual computing power to render its high-quality art. Dragon's Lair was only computing relatively simple pass-fail states. Its lavish animation was instead held by the massive laser disc it ran on, the game's programming telling the disc where to seek next. Saying Dragon's Lair was the best-looking game ever would be kind of like saying Immortality is the best-looking game ever. You could make that argument, but you're likely to get groaned out of the room. Another vital difference between the two games is the context of how they were played. Defender of the Crown could be run at home, albeit on a relatively expensive computer. Dragon's Lair's Laserdisc could only be afforded and run by arcades.
Yeah. The Immortal on NES required a literal frame-perfect input to beat the second final boss, but at least it didn't take a quarter to try. Yeah.
In this way, Dragon's Lair was extremely typical of graphics tech.
Man, that's a fucking coin eater and a half. Holy shit.
For decades, basically up until the end of the 20th century, this is how gaming worked. You took what you could get at home while recognizing that arcade cabinets were simply capable of more. When I was a kid, I pictured an arcade cabinet as packed literally top to bottom with circuitry. No wonder those games looked so great, I thought. They're filled with cubic feet of computing hardware. This is not exactly the case. But there were a number of things that pushed arcade cabinets above consumer gaming systems. They often contained hardware specifically tuned to the game they were running. They only had to be designed to do one thing. They could retail for thousands of dollars, thus justifying more expensive components and more dedicated R&D teams. Moreover, for an arcade machine to be successful, it needed to be able to pull people in, to dazzle them with images so tantalizing they couldn't help but give up their quarters. There's a reason the sizzling montage every arcade game runs when not in use is called the attract screen. If we're talking about the best looking games ever, we can't ignore arcades. From Dragon's Lair to the razor-sharp beauty of vector graphics to the sheer speed and atmosphere of something like Outrun, arcades are where people would go to catch a glimpse of the future. And what vision of the future could compete with the beautiful blue skies of... My expert consultant for this essay is Digital Foundry's John Linneman, although if I get anything wrong, that's on me, it's not on him. He says he remembers the exact moment he first saw the Daytona USA arcade machine. I can only imagine.
8 machines lined up against a wall in a local amusement park. I stared in awe as the smoothest, most detailed graphics I had ever seen danced across the row of CRT monitors. At the time, I didn't yet understand what the term frame rate was, but I knew just looking at this game that Daytona USA trounced every other 3D game on the market in terms of fluidity.
What was Daytona USA doing that other games hadn't? Well, it was running on the Sega Model 2 arcade board, a piece of hardware as close to space age as you could reasonably be. The board was literally developed in partnership with GE Aerospace. GE Aerospace has since been folded into Lockheed Martin, so I regret to inform you that Daytona USA is now a part of the military-industrial complex. But we can forget.
They fucking got me again, man. Always making some fucking game. Oh, here's a video game. And oops, turns out we're making the missiles to bombard the fucking cities. And I'm like, you got me. USA's military industrial complex. You got me good. Man, arcade cabinet sizes were such a trick. Yeah, also. Anyone remember the Star Wars arcade that looks like a massive console with tons of buttons, except everything was fake except the joysticks? Lema. My Lockheed stock's doing well. Thanks to Daytona, thanks to the Daytona, no doubt. Don't you hate it when that happens? It's like the military sub-company that also makes appliances and or vehicles. Yeah, man, there's like a fucking ton of them. Most of them, yeah, most of them. That's probably right. Or if they are currently making appliances, they will be making fucking bombs like 5 years into the future because the army will go like, damn, you fold that... You fold that fucking metal pretty good. You wanna make some bombs for me, man? And then they stop making like the best appliances ever, and you're like, oh, I can't find quality like this anymore. I wonder what happened to that company.
Give it, because this game quite literally introduced the gaming world to texture filtering. You know when 3D games use some sort of
holy shit, this game looks good, by the way. God damn.
Key magic to smooth out their sharp pixely edges? That's from Daytona. It also ran at the eye-melting resolution of 496 by 384, featured 16-bit color, and did all this at 60 frames per second.
Man, that's a good-looking game.
Seemingly every new generation of gaming shows off its technical abilities with a racing game, but the leap this represented is hard to even conceive of. For context,
I unironically love how this game looks. Holy shit.
Just a year prior, the top of the line was probably something like Virtua Racing. This was 1992.
Holy hell.
And this was 1993.
That's crazy.
There's an aspect
that's
of
insane
to this era of Sega's arcade dominance. The idea that you could just keep pouring money into tech and research and keep reaping unbelievable jumps in fidelity. Also released alongside Daytona USA in 1993 was Virtua Fighter, the first fighting game with fully 3D graphics. It looked like this. And then just 3 years later, Virtua Fighter looked like this. Are you kidding me, man? It's a point in time where...
Brother, there is no way. Holy shit.
Graphical growth feels near exponential. That game development was in almost perfect concert with simultaneous technical breakthroughs. This was arcade gaming's moment of visual ascendancy, the cash funneled into these games apparent the moment you saw them. And every 3D game today still exists in the wake of this period. The texture filtering introduced by Daytona is completely ubiquitous in almost everything released in the 21st century. 20 years after Virtua Fighter 3, games still boast of their detailed eyes and realistically flexing musculature. And yet, this was also the last moment of glory for arcades. Soon after, the Dreamcast would feature near parity to arcade performance. Arcades stopped drawing the same crowds, and thus lost their endless stream of R&D funding. Giant purpose-built cabinets would...
I mean, kinda sad, but, you know... That's... They just kinda lost the arms race. Massive tech jumps happened in only a year or two in the 90s. Oh yeah, every single fucking year there was something crazy happening, man. It still happens kinda, just not in normal games, more in VR. Yeah, some of the VR I have seen like has been impressive. It's just still like VR is so kind of inaccessible to the normal consumer who is not that into gaming.
Never get the spotlight in the same way. You wouldn't venture into the arcade to get a glimpse of the future. Instead, companies would try and bring it into your living room. But despite this change in priorities, graphics continued to move at a lightning pace through the turn of the millennium. I couldn't make it through this video without mentioning the best gaming magazine cover ever, Unreal! Yes, this is an actual PC game screenshot. There's the unbelievable gulf between Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, for instance. The similarly massive jump between Final Fantasies just 4 years apart.
Yes!
But if you wanted...
Fucking Final Fantasy X! Oh my god, how fucking good that game looked for the time. I mean, it still looks good. But for that time, unbelievable, man.
Of graphics in 2001, you'd have to do what now feels like a completely random series of events. Go to Tokyo to watch Steve Jobs introduce Doom 3. This whole presentation, Tokyo Macworld 2.
That fucking happened? Seriously? I didn't know that.
2001 is fascinating. Before Jobs brings out John Carmack to talk Doom, he starts talking about Pixar. Specifically, the Pixar short Luxo Jr., made in 1986, the source of the company's desk lamp mascot. He talks about how in 1986, using a supercomputer, it took 3 hours to render each frame. And then they pull out the same short, except now, in 2001, it's running in real time, powered by NVIDIA's GeForce 3. This is still the language we use today, how what used to take hours or days can be rendered in milliseconds, that Kingdom Hearts looks as good as Toy Story, Final Fantasy surpasses The Spirits Within. Anyway, then Jobs brings out Carmack. Carmack doesn't actually call the presentation Doom 3 at any point, just says that it's the engine they're working with for their next game. But he says something even more exciting, that this next step represents the final unification of lighting and shadow across all surfaces in a game. He says for years, games have had to trick their way into appropriate lighting, different things for characters and...
Yeah, like I said, Doom 3, like, light and shadow is incredible, man. Incredible. That's because John is a brilliant weirdo who loved creating engines more than anything else. Yeah, man. Carmack made some really fucking good stuff for us. But like it always happens, you know, there kind of was the passing of the torch.
Environments, different techniques for static lights and moving ones. Now, the power of the hardware and their engine would make everything simpler. Now every pixel could be lit by the same sources. And while he talks, the presentation zooms through the halls of what would become Doom 3, the real-time graphics in many ways exceeding even the pre-rendered game cinematics of just a few years before. It wouldn't be until 2004 that Doom 3 fully released. Even still, there was nothing like it. Hell, even today, there's nothing quite like Doom 3. The commitment the game has to its lighting engine is near fanatical, the entire atmosphere of the game determined by how light and shadow interact. Even the opening minutes of the game, the peaceful walk through a research base on Mars that hasn't yet been overtaken by demons from hell, is drenched in darkness. NPCs sit in barely lit rooms with long shadows stretching across their face, giant machines throw silhouettes against the wall as they work. I can't help but think of that beautifully faked shadow in Defender of the Crown, the computer struggling to display even a mostly static image. You could have witnessed the release of both Defender of the Crown and Doom 3, and barely be old enough to vote. Playing Doom 3, you get the sense that the entire game was constructed around its new graphical abilities. Unlike Dooms 1 and 2, 3 is firmly planted in the horror genre, the lighting doing most of the work in portraying the damned research station. Early in the demon invasion, you'll see a pitch-black corner suddenly light up red as an imp ignites a fireball, and that red glow will follow the fireball as the imp chucks it into your face. It's legitimately incredible. I have no nostalgia for Doom 3. I hadn't played it prior to doing research for this video, and the atmosphere
It's still a weak Doom game, to be fair, but it's incredible in how it looks, man.
hit just as hard regardless. It's a testament to how well Doom 3 establishes itself as a horror title that I never really questioned what the lighting engine can't do. You look at the environments and wonder, why wasn't this the start of every game using light like this? But really, there's a simple answer. The engine could only handle direct illumination. That is, when you shine your flashlight on a wall, you only light up that wall. Unlike real life, the light is unable to bounce, can't continue making its way around the environment. The wonderfully evocative artistic choice in Doom 3 to only feature harsh divisions between light and inky black is also an engine limitation. That attempt at the final unification of lighting and shadow doesn't allow for soft, indirect light. And 20 years later, we're still chasing that goal. This is what ray tracing is trying to solve today. In the ultra-demanding path tracing modes of games like Cyberpunk, we can see gaming getting just a little closer. Light and shadow, character and environment, all still hoping to be unified. Around the time
Doom 3 is not a bad game, it's just a bad Doom game, yeah. The only thing truly horrible in that game is the shotgun, which is tragic. Yeah, the shotgun was so bad. Yeah, that actually throws me off when playing it at times. Like, man, it's tragic that, like, it was a brave experiment, and, like, I think it was worth it, but at the same time, they made an experiment inside one of the most famous franchises in fucking history of gaming. Like, come on, man. Like, there were going to be people who aren't happy with the new direction.
Time of Doom 3, the rate of best-looking games ever was getting out of hand. In 2002, Capcom released their remake of the first Resident Evil, featuring quite possibly the most beautifully integrated pre-rendered backgrounds ever seen.
Yeah, this was fucking insane too.
In a game. In 2003, Konami released Silent Hill 3 with uncannily detailed character models and texture work. In the time since Silent Hill 3, there have of course been characters rendered at a higher fidelity than Heather Mason, but whenever I play it, I think this is the best a character has ever needed to look. In 2004, alongside Doom 3, Valve released a little game called Half-Life 2, with large, complex environments, great-looking water, and a physics system so good it could be the main mechanical hook. What's interesting to me about this time period is that, unlike in the 80s, and somewhat unlike today, the biggest graphical leaps weren't being made by games with severely limited interactivity. Unlike Dragon's Lair or Hellblade 2, these are all game-ass games with complex mechanical systems and big show-offy boss fights. I don't have a perfect explanation for why this is the case. Maybe it's just due to genre popularity. The walking simulator wasn't really a thing. The closest equivalent might actually be cutscene-heavy, gameplay-simple titles like Dream Factor's The Bouncer. You could also look at the stripped-down world of a game I've mentioned a few times in the past, Shadow of the Colossus. Colossus did take a more minimalistic approach to gameplay than many other PS2 games, but it certainly didn't apply the same ethos to its graphics, insisting on huge landscapes and enemies, involved physics, fur rendering, and even cinematic motion blur. Shadow of the Colossus is maybe my favorite example of, we're gonna do everything, performance be damned. On the original PS2, the game chugged along at something like 18 frames per second, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But by then, it was 2005. And there was a game on the horizon that would define the next era of conversations about the best-looking game ever. That is, if you could even run it.
Yeah, but can it run Crysis?
Hardware-wise, consoles are pretty static environments. A game created for the PS2 needed to target that one specific technical platform. Developers couldn't reasonably make a PS2 game for what the PS3 might be able to do. But the PC is a different beast. Games can be, in a way, designed for possible futures. There's no more famous example of this than Crysis. Put simply, to run Crysis on the highest settings, you would need 2007's absolute top-of-the-line hardware. Upon Crysis's release, you'd be lucky to have a graphics card with more than half a gigabyte of VRAM, but the game's highest settings could gobble up far more than that. The game wanted blazing fast CPU speeds, and even demanded 2 whole gigabytes of memory. For many consumers, they wouldn't have a system with these specs for years after Crysis's release.
Oh,
Fortunately,
that's so fucking funny to think about now, man.
In this respect, 2024 has finally turned the tables on Crysis. For example, my current GPU has 12 entire gigabytes of VRAM, 24 times that of 2007's cards. And I'll tell you, even 17 years later, turning every setting to very high while running the game in 4K is extremely satisfying. And in 2024, it's even more obvious the many ways Crysis was a preview of the future of graphics. This is the game we have to thank for ambient occlusion, a now ubiquitous feature used to generate more realistic shadows. Crysis's opening uses volumetric clouds, real 3D objects in the sky, not just static skyboxes, the same tech that makes the skies of Flight Simulator or Red Dead Redemption 2 so stunning. Crysis has incredible per-object motion blur, it has remarkably detailed parallax occlusion maps, it has real-time contact shadows, it has a million other jargony buzzwords I could throw at you that all make up the standard toolkit of most game engines today. I mean, my god, look at those character models! 2007!
Man, yeah, that is kinda nuts. I forgot how good Crysis looks. Holy shit, bro.
But the most fascinating thing about Crysis might not be its easily trackable technical influences. Instead, playing Crysis today, I can't get over how it feels like a peek into a future that never quite occurred. This is even true on a technical level. As Alex Battaglia noted in 2018, the expectation for PC computing was that the real increase in speed in computing would happen from massive increases in clock speeds, with the expectations of anything up to 8 GHz Pentiums in the future. It never happened, of course. Crysis predicted that the individual cores of CPUs would just get faster and faster, and they didn't really, instead opting to expand the number of cores with similar clock speeds. This is a very technical point that helps explain why, on Crysis's heaviest levels, even modern CPUs can't consistently run the game at high frame rates. For most gamers, though, the details of how their CPU makes calculations don't matter, as long as the game works. But matched with this technical misprediction are other, more visible ways Crysis shows a different possible future. It is a shockingly destructible game, for instance, and not just in the easy ways. Have you played a game since 2007 that lets you do this with trees? I can't stop shooting the trees! Crysis launched with a level editor that showed off just how in-depth the physics system truly was. John Linneman said it reminded him of the promise of that first level of Metal Gear Solid 2, the idea that game worlds would soon match their remarkable fidelity with equally remarkable interactivity. Neither of these promises really came to pass, however. Crysis 2 and 3 eventually came out, and they maybe looked better than Crysis 1, but in more limited, corralled ways. They were made to run on contemporaneous consoles, and not just the PCs of the future. Many of the post-Crysis best-looking games ever took a step away from this depth of interactivity. The 7th generation of consoles began Naughty Dog's reign as king of best-looking games.
I can't fucking look at Uncharted without getting angry, man. Oh my god. Fuck me, man. Let me tell you something. For years, I have had this friend in college, right? Like, still one of my best friends. Shoutouts to Matthew. I fucking love the guy, but he would go on and on about how fucking good Uncharted is. And I finally played the whole original trilogy of Uncharted's all of the remakes, and man, I really fucking I really fucking don't like Uncharted. It's such a mid game. Holy. I don't recall enjoying playing it that much though. I'm assuming that's a chat message about Crisis. The trees bit was something that got talked about when I was in high school. It's of its time, that's the best way to put it. But like Uncharted 4 came out not too long ago, and it's just another Uncharted game. So like I don't know if it's a product of their time. Like it was we kind of went into this generation with this, and a lot of games were like this. Let me actually, I will be back in a second. Let me go to the bathroom real quick. I do be back. I guess it's very casual, so it managed to capture general audience of normal people, not the game audience. Again, I'm going to reference Space Marine 2 here. Uncharted has amazing cinematic moments that never felt amazing to me because you were always snapped to guide rails when they happened. It was obvious to you. You were never in control. Nowadays, games have same moments like in Space Marine 2's Horde attacks, and you realize you're still in control of the game. You have no guidance and have to make it work anyway. That is exactly like a problem I had with Uncharted, I think, because like Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear in general, right? All of Metal Gears up to the release of Uncharted 1 and 2, and other games that were also very other games that were also very cinematic, they had just more gameplay. The Last of Us is the best example of this, I think. The Last of Us is literally a better fucking Uncharted only because you have more gameplay things going on. Like, you actually have to think in situations. You know, sneaking around enemies, crafting bullshit, using your resources. In Uncharted, I never fucking thought about anything. I'm just walking, a brain dead climbing section that was so on rails it was impossible to lose. Then a brainless shooting section, and it just interchanged, and yeah. It doesn't help that the story really fucking didn't grab me, man. Holy. So yeah, I just personally have this frustration with this. It's cinematic and guided hard, but you're in control, unlike Uncharted. Yeah, like, again, the same studio, same kind of concept, because they're both very cinematic, and like, it was just I just like Uncharted. Sorry. Pwah. The Last of Us so much better. The thing that really pissed me off is a lot of people compared Uncharted to fucking Tomb Raider, right? And like, I am sorry, but Tomb Raider is an actual video game, not an interactive fucking cutscene like Uncharted. So, man, I hate that comparison.
With the first 3 Uncharted games trading wide, flexible zones for narrow corridors to jump and shoot through. The Frostbite engine did some unbelievable work on the Battlefield games, both in wide multiplayer and...
Again, to a counterpoint to how games can still look great and play great, oh my fucking god, the Battlefield games on that engine were phenomenal, brother. Holy hell.
Single-player scenarios. For years, my personal pick for best-looking game ever was God of War 3, which featured both colossal characters and environments while simultaneously featuring some really detailed and evocative lighting work, as long as you were okay with relinquishing all camera control. And, of course, this era also saw the release of my beloved Mirror's Edge.
Peak. Fucking peak, man. I loved first Mirror's Edge. Holy. It definitely isn't like Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider had actual exploration. Preach, brother. Preach.
Its cold beauty and timeless aesthetic already the focus of a video I made years ago. But maybe the best looking characters on the consoles lived in the shakily written worlds of Quantic Dream. Both Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls traded almost...
I mean, Heavy Rain did look fucking good, you know, and parts of that story made sense. Certainly. Heavy Rain is like the least offensive David Cage game to date, I think. As in, like, least bad, I guess.
All interactivity for genuinely stunning rendering of quite limited worlds. Heavy Rain's loading screens are simply close-up shots of the characters' faces, their vividly realized eyes and facial tics implying some level of internal life. Once you make it into the game, though...
I think still that's such a cool decision, man.
Implying some level of...
Like, those loading screens were fucking impressive, man. I had loads of issues with Mirror's Edge controls when it comes to fighting, but the style was great. Oh yeah, the parkour was amazing too, but yeah, the fucking the fighting was rough. The fighting was rough. I still can't wait for David Cage's Star Wars game. It will be so goofy. Oh man. I can smell the sexualized aliens from here, man. Detroit Become Human was close to being great. It just needed to be focused exclusively on Connor and Hank. That is also true, but like... what was the fucking woman from Detroit Become Human? Like, her campaign was so fucking bad, it brought that game down so much. It's incredible. The other guy also had the fucking... the slavery symbolism was so bad in Detroit. Oh my god. But if it was just a cool... if David Cage could be stopped from trying to write something deep and instead write a cool story about two cops solving a crime, I think he would do... I think he would put in... he would do something cool. Like, I still think the first scene... the first playable scene of Detroit Become Human, where you are Connor in that apartment on top of a skyscraper, it was a fucking good opening to that game. It just fell apart really quickly.
life. Once you make it into the game, though, these characters are only able to do rigidly defined actions, stiffly walking around the environment until they happen upon an interactable prompt. They are, in a way, returning to the idea of Dragon's Lair, a largely pre-decided movie that players interact with through limited QuickTime events. For what it's worth, the game's director, David Cage, said, "No, we don't make Dragon's Lair. This is not Dragon's Lair. Do you think I'm crazy? I'm not stupid. Do you think I develop on the PlayStation 3 to do Dragon's Lair again? It would be absurd." But for the record, I don't think his word is actually worth that much.
Oh man, good old David, huh? Good old David, huh? Heavy Rain also had that bullshit fires. Oh, Heavy Rain had a lot of bullshit fucking sequences, man.
However, for as many gorgeous games...
Didn't she, like, survive? Wasn't it in that scene literally the thing out of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, where she hid in a fucking fridge and survived an explosion in her apartment? That was so fucking stupid.
Games as this generation had, the feeling of the jumps shrank. The gulf in years became less significant. Many of you are probably familiar with this graphic showing the decreasing effect of increased polygon counts. What this image doesn't reveal is the rough edges resulting from continuous increases in fidelity. Janky animations stand out far more when placed within a near photoreal world. The gulf in detail that's always existed between main characters and unimportant NPCs becomes far more obvious. Environments need geometrical complexity to match their high-res textures, or they risk looking like a Minecraft HD mod. Maybe this is why the scope of the best-looking game ever so often narrows. A fairly uncontentious pick for the best-looking game on the PS4 would be 2015's The Order 1886, a 6-hour title with roughly equal time allotted to combat and cutscenes. The Order is remembered almost entirely for its visuals, and with a not insignificant level of disdain.
This is where we're at now, huh? A CGI movie with some basic cover shooting stapled to it?
But this is the way technical advancement works sometimes. Major sacrifices required for a glimpse at the future. The Order 1886 is one of the pioneers of physically based rendering, showing off its tech before the PS4 had even launched. This is, in short, a way of making digital materials exhibit the same qualities.
Am I fucking crazy, or did we dip in audio quality? I'm assuming he's making some point that he will reveal in a second. Then she also teleports outside after the blast. I fucking remember that exactly, man. I was so dumbfounded when I first saw that stupid sequence.
As their real-life counterparts, with things like appropriate reflectiveness and light scattering. While all these
maybe he had to edit out some background music, and YouTube does that to your audio when you edit out like copyrighted music and stuff.
These techniques look incredible in-game. The Order's true legacy has been defined by developer Ready at Dawn's willingness to share. In GDC talks and slide decks widely available online, the tech team broke down how and why they went to such lengths with their graphics in spectacularly granular detail, spending pages and pages showing how they made a single copper spigot. There's no telling how many games have since utilized Ready at Dawn's development pipelines. Their single-minded focus on creating the best-looking game ever, blazing the way for countless other developers to learn from their passion. This will have to be their legacy. Just a few weeks ago, Ready at Dawn was shut down by its parent company, Meta. Just another casualty in our continuous
another history as old as time
of industry talent. The search for the best-looking game ever is eternal, Sisyphean. Is it now Cyberpunk, with its beautifully bounced lighting?
Yep, the audio is back, so it was 100% it was a copyright issue.
Red Dead Redemption 2 with its unbelievable atmospheric effects and absurdly detailed interiors. For me, at present, it's Hellblade 2, with eyes and faces imbued with a life unlike anything I've seen before, a devotion to animation that eschews playability for agonizing verisimilitude. And all of this will be moot in no time at all. The trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6 promises yet another step towards that elusive horizon, the best-looking game ever, until one more takes its place. And I often do stop and think, do we need any of this? This endless relay, this procession towards an unachievable goal? I mean, are any of these games actually more beautiful than Okami?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, of course not, man. Okami was peak, but then Cruelty Squad came out. So sorry, Okami, you are the second best looking game. Being a stepping stone to progress does often mean you get stepped on. Hey, maybe they're into that, man. I didn't know that the developers of Order actually gave away like all of the secret sauce. I think that's beautiful, man. Holy shit, this sucks that studio got shut down, because oh man, that's such a inspiring story, honestly. Holy, imagine how much fucking better gaming would be if like all of the studios were willing to share their fucking magician's secrets, you know?
But what that perspective misses is the way these achievements rely and build on each other. Each studio might be Sisyphus, pushing that boulder up a mount, but in this case, the boulder smooths a little of the slope out each time. The road to the best-looking game ever is generously paved by every other that came before, from Defender of the Crown to Daytona to Crisis and Hellblade, each revealing the possibility of the next digital world. Of course, with a topic like this, I'm inevitably going to miss some huge games. The gorgeous Donkey Kong Country somehow didn't make the cut, Soul Calibur was benched, I somehow went this whole time without saying the phrase, The Last of Us Part 2. But there's one game that stood out, that I realized with horror I finished my script without saying a single word about. Batman Arkham Knight. But I didn't want to cram Arkham Knight into this already overstuffed essay, so I wrote a whole separate video on it. On Nebula, and only on Nebula, you can find this entirely new video essay. How does Arkham Knight still look so good? I remember in 2018...
Yeah, I mean, to be fucking fair, Arkham Knight does look pretty good, man. What this taught me is I'm not buying Senua 2 because the coolest features of Senua 1 are gone. Oh, and the storyline about the grief too.
People saying, wow, remember how good Arkham Knight looked with this shot of the city? And then in 2020, people were saying, wow, how did Arkham Knight look this good 5 years ago, with probably the same shot of the city? And then in 2022, we all had a good reminisce about how good Arkham Knight looked, and now, in 2024, the Arkham Knight looked great cottage industry is flourishing with the release of new and more disappointing games in the Batman universe. This is not the first time I've put an entirely new video on Nebula. It's not even the 20th time I've done that. Nebula is home to years of exclusive work from me, whether it's focused essays, conversations with friends, cooking videos, or uncensored versions of videos that had to be pared down for YouTube. If you like my work at all, if a month feels like too long to wait between my essays, Nebula is right there for you. And here's the good news, you can get all that for 40% off when you sign up for a year. That is, if you follow my link in the description. Nebula isn't just a platform for Jacob Geller fans either. There's all sorts of stuff for you to discover. You can watch the whole series The Getaway now, see bonus videos from my esteemed colleagues Big Joel and Leo Vader, or, circling back to me, listen to exclusive episodes of my podcast, Something Rotten. I've been talking up Nebula for most of the time I've been on YouTube at this point. We're not slowing down. We're only picking up speed. So, what's the secret to Arkham Knight's aesthetic? Is it important that Batman is so wet? Does the game actually look better than this year's Suicide Squad? All that and more, so much more, when you join Nebula. Sign up now for a full 40% off your annual subscription when you follow the link in the description.
I'm not interested, but... But great video anyway, you know. And yeah, that was the best looking game ever by Jacob Geller. Honestly, fucking fantastic. Fantastic video as always. So far I haven't heard of anything bad about Nebula. I mean, there's nothing really like bad to say. It's just a place where you put some videos and people pay for access basically. It's kind of like making Patreon exclusive content or YouTube membership exclusive content. It's just a thing to where you can, you know, throw some money, the way of your favorite creators, get some of their more of their stuff. So that's great. And yeah, this, man, so many fucking memories came flooding back after this essay. Holy hell. Yeah, like pretty much everything I had to say like was said during the video. I don't love these games. I got into gaming because of the freedom, because of the interactivity, because of the crazy fucking art styles, you know. So I will never say that graphics are the most important, but I can definitely understand like why chasing that fidelity, why chasing those extra crispy textures, why it's important for the industry and for the technology first and foremost. So yeah, I just wish fucking people didn't get trampled in the process, because like this year has been so disappointing with closure of studios and people getting let go, you know. So yeah, I don't have anything against chasing the good graphics, but when people's paychecks are on the line, fuck it. I'm a full-blown indie supporter now, you know. Indies like give me what I look in gaming more anyway, so yeah. Sad state of affairs for the current year, sadly. Like literally every single month has been a massive, some kind of massive layoff, which is fucking stupid. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Interesting, like look back at all of those games. Some of them I have never heard about, and yeah, it was really cool to learn. So yeah, if you're watching later on YouTube, thank you very much for watching, and yeah, that's it. See you in the next one. And on the stream, I think we have time for one more. And I want it to be the other Seth video, honestly.
Hey, people.
Yeah, another, who would have thought? Another Earth Defense Force review by SsethTzeentach. Earth Defense Force 6 this time. Oh boy, I'm beginning to think he has some kind of problem. You know, he's been deep into that Earth Defense Force rabbit hole by now, and good for him, honestly. Those look like amazing. Those look like amazing games. Let's get in there.
Seth here. I did my part. We all did our part. But it wasn't enough. It's been 3 years since we killed God, and we're still no closer to reclaiming our world. The aliens may be gone, but the monsters they've left behind have made life all but impossible. The world is ruled by monsters. At this point, maybe we are the invaders, and they are the EDF now. Wait, what? 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 The Earth Defense Force 6 begins now. This game has finally been released outside of the theocratic dictatorship known as Japan, where the personal computer is a heretical relic, and releasing a good PC port is considered apostasy.
I mean, he's not even fucking kidding. I feel like, man.
luckily, the developers aren't getting excommunicated, as this game, which is about 80% EDF5 by volume, somehow has a worse PC port. And despite not being an Epic exclusive, this game uses Epic Online Services for its multiplayer. Ah yes, let me just sign in with my LEGO account. You can't turn this off. And every time you get an achievement, it locks your controls and you die. We are...
What the fuck is happening, brother?
So back to the past, because that's where we're going. Now, you'd think the phrase EDF plus time travel would be a good tone indicator for this experience, but you'd be wrong. Watching this game unfold is like giving a 20 to your local tweaker. After the gas station dick pills and 2 hits of Bang Energy kick in, it's impossible to predict his next move. And yet, it's strangely captivating to watch him wrestle an officer while urinating with a full erection. Speaking of which, our sponsor, I need money for fentanyl. Hey gang, do you want to know why we're dealing with this invasion? Because someone, you specifically, forgot to install ExpressVPN. That's right, Earth Defense Force is a metaphor for what happens when you browse the net without a VPN. Like ants to a picnic, your unsecured connection attracts all manner of unsavory characters. From your ISP to scummy data brokers and government glowies. Who knows what they want or what they'll do when they get it? If you're lucky, they'll just sell off your data to the highest bidder and turn your life into a living hell of targeted advertising. If you're unlucky, they'll establish a detailed record of every illicit detail of your personal life and use it against you to ruin your life. That's right, you'll be forced to resort to making TikTok slop content just to get by. Thankfully, ExpressVPN stops all this and more by routing all of your internet traffic through a secure encrypted tunnel, allowing you to browse the internet anonymously, securely, and privately. Use it to stay safe anywhere, even on unsecured public Wi-Fi. Now that's what I call a picnic. Personally, I use ExpressVPN to protect myself from my own landlord. At the moment, I have him fooled. He thinks I can barely make rent, but as the owner of my Wi-Fi network, he can see everything I do. If he sees what I purchase online, he'll jack up my rent. But with ExpressVPN, Wi-Fi owners can't see what you're up to on their network, making total privacy just one click away. Now, I can go about my normal business and occasionally turn it off to Google things like what to do if very poor, how to make money for rent, and is it healthy to eat cement? Just to throw him off a trail. ExpressVPN is consistently rated the #1 VPN by CNET, The Verge, and tons of other tech reviewers. And unlike me, they actually have a reputation. Find out how you can get 3 months of ExpressVPN for free by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link, and
I am so glad he got addicted to fucking Yakuza. If only he got unaddicted to League, he would be good to go.
Description box below, or by going to expressvpn.com/Seth. Earth Defense Force 6 innovates on the EDF format of reusing 90% of the last game by having you time travel back to literal copy-pasted EDF5 missions.
What are you? No fucking way they did that. Holy shit.
The entire intro is a highlight reel of brain rot from the previous title.
In these 5 months, humanity has lost 30% of its population.
30%. That's still not too bad.
And since my mind has blocked out all EDF-related memories as a trauma response, it still hits just as hard. From a premise, you'd think we'd bring back some kind of superweapon or strategy. But remember, this is a universe where everyone eats glue, including the aliens. What we've brought back is far more valuable. Advice. Advice, such as shoot the glowing weak point. In the original timeline, this took the EDF months to figure out. Your guidance helps a little, but the aliens are sending new enemies back in time as well. We're playing a game of quantum chess, but every player is retarded. So, what's new? Not
He's still got it, ladies and gentlemen. It's still got it.
much. Welcome to EDF. You get one new mechanic and quality of life features which should have been there from the start, like these new damage numbers. So now I can see I'm doing exactly 1 damage. The Ranger can now turn while sprinting. This took years of programming. Everyone gets a new backpack weapon slot, so now you can actually use all the stupid shit that would have otherwise cost you an entire slot. Backpack weapons also reload passively, so now you don't have to hold it out for a real-life minute to reload your turrets. This entire series is built on breaking you down. down, to the point where I'm giving praise each time something gets marginally better. Wing Diver gets an infinite durability, spammable shield that blocks everything. Its intended purpose is to survive attacks and get some breathing room. Its actual purpose is to grief your teammates. Playing Aerator causes a unique form of brain damage, where all of your dopamine pathways remap to prioritize Big Bomb at the cost of self-preservation. EDF5 tried to fix this by adding more limpet guns and a third weapon slot. EDF6 has given up completely. Now you have an entirely new category of drone strikes which can work underground or in a timeline where all of your artillery crews are dead, and a fencer gets literally nothing. He's exactly the same. Just like 5, he goes from broke to broken, from garbage can to Gundam that can solo the entire game. EDF's enemy designs take from the late Confucian philosophy of CBT maximalism, which falls into one of the following categories: instant death shotgun, instantaneous corporeal relocation, I can't see what the fuck is going on, I'm having an epileptic seizure, and the rarest category of all, actually good. If they have a gimmick, EDF will make damn sure you know about it.
These aliens are armored! They're fully protected, clad in armor, head to toe. They're covered in armor. Where do we even aim?
These enemies have new gear. There are just a few heavily armored aliens.
For example, the flying drones have a unique mechanic, the rules of which are described to you in excruciating detail. And what is it? When you shoot an enemy, they get mad. One of the simplest game mechanics that anyone, no matter how much their mother drank during pregnancy, can figure out on their own. In any other game, you would not need to drill this into the player, but this is EDF. I've spent the last 15 hours inhaling nitrous and holding left click. I'm great.
In game, right? Inhaling nitrous in game, right? This is some Dead by Daylight grading on a curve for minor improvements that should have always been there. Oh man. You are fucking eliciting a trauma response from me, man. I got out of Dead by Daylight. I don't wanna fucking even think about that game anymore. That shit was like the second comic of League of Legends, but it was easier to get out of because Dead by Daylight is actual garbage and they are refusing to fix some of the like major issues, so
grateful for this reminder, because with zero explanation, a new red drone shows up, and if you aggro more than one at a time, you're already dead. That's supposed to be a decoy. In EDF5, they were useless because they had no health. In EDF6, they're useless because the aliens won't fucking shoot at them. EDF's network of radio gaslighters will keep you stocked up on genuinely dogshit advice. At one point, android suicide bombers show up, and you're told to run away, hold your ground, shoot the bombs, don't shoot the bombs, and link up with Charlie. Charlie is the key to all this. A terrifying new enemy. However, are we going to hold shift? Their weakness is the shift key. Surprisingly, most of the new designs aren't terrible. Androids shoot their hands, which is a physical projectile that can be shot out of the air. The new drones have weak
spots. That's actually interesting as fuck.
Spots and dodgeable attacks. The cruel are actually interesting. They can block attacks with their energy shield until it overheats. In the game's own words, the black ones don't work. It's genuinely fun combining different gear and strategies to get past their shields. And then you play a mission with a rolling pillbugs and all that praise goes out the window. I need to make one thing very clear. Cheat engine is no longer optional. I complained about the drop system in 5, but now it's worse than I could have possibly imagined. Let me give you a quick rundown. Enemies drop armor and weapon crates. Armor crates permanently increase max HP by 1. Weapon crates are gacha tokens that give 1 spin of the end of mission reward wheel. These weapons come from a genuinely schizophrenic loot table based on mission number and difficulty, with a bias towards whatever class you're playing. Getting duplicates levels up the star statistic. This is not a small bonus. It brings the weapon from borderline useless to borderline griefing. If you're operating under the reasonable assumption that difficulty options are purely a matter of taste, EDF will punish you. If you play the entire game on normal, you'll encounter only 25% of all items. If you want a smooth progression through all of the weapons, playing missions at the developer intended armor and weapon levels, you'll have to play the entire game, and I'm not making this up, 16 times. Every single mission, on every single class, on normal, hard, hardest, and inferno difficulties. Or you can use Cheat Engine to multiply the drops by several thousand and play on hard so you only miss half a drop table. And if you're worried about cheating...
What? You still miss half of the fucking items? What the fuck is this, man? And it's not like gacha where they earn money for it. It's like fucking MMO tier grind. For what fucking reason? They already have your fucking money if you bought it. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this dog shit system, man?
Diluting your experience? It won't. Every mission has a hard limit on max health and weapon level. This isn't just a polite suggestion. I'm asking you to cut out 60 hours of grind, so you can find out it makes no difference because you get one shot anyway.
This is... They just added grind for some reason. What the fuck? Like, this doesn't even... Like, this doesn't benefit the developer in any possible way. Unless there are, like... things you can buy in the store which skip this process, which I don't think there are. I'm not sure. Carl, you seem to know EDF. I'm not familiar. Are there ways to skip this grind via monetary means, or did they just add this to fucking make their game worse? I don't get it.
I mentioned this game was insane, but it doesn't truly become clear until you shoot it to Time Machine again. You know you're in for a treat when you see the words, "The Earth Defense Force 7 begins now." This is where you realize we're not using time travel to stop ourselves from eating glue. This is a race through time to see who can eat the most glue, us or the aliens. And right now, they're winning because they can send new enemies back in time, but we can only bring our memories back to our bodies in the past. The scientist who travels back with you tries to make use of this, but each time he does, the EDF sends him to the psychiatric ward. He's looped so many times, he's memorized the game's dialogue. I mean, I don't actually know how many times he's looped. He just said he lost count, but the EDF's greatest weakness is numbers, so that's not saying much. When he gets locked up, the title of smartest man in the EDF goes to Steve, the only man who can count all the way up to 10.
Yeah, and it's number 9. The 9th one out of 10.
Truly, our brightest mind.
I'd kill for a meal. I'd even eat a monster at this point.
I gotta move myself. Oh my god. No, there isn't that I know of. It's because the game is meant to be a party game, but since it's Japanese, CBT is part of the experience. What the fuck? That's so fucking... They literally want this to be like an MMO or something? That's why the grind? That's why the fucking World of Warcraft tier grind? That's so dumb.
People smarter than us have already tried.
I believe them, because this is a post-No Child Left Behind universe. EDF has a very particular way of introducing new enemies. First, you'll do a normal mission with normal dialogue. Then, near the end, the NPCs will randomly bring up something you've never heard before, like,
"I would have never believed that demons would rule over the surface 3 years ago."
You're left wondering, is that a metaphor? Then you go to the next mission and... oh shit, they weren't kidding. That Cruel is getting prime toppy. This situation is so hopeless that many in the EDF are seeking God. Not in a religious sense, they are physically looking for God. The possibility of his existence gives the EDF hope. Not hope that he'll save us, but hope that we can beat him to death ourselves. However, that's not going to work this time, so we really need to figure out how to use this whole time travel thing to our advantage. The Earth Defense Force 8 begins now. This time, the scientists managed to avoid
How bad is the crack epidemic in Japan, man? This isn't something a healthy mind can produce. Again, there's no anti-cheat, so we can just skip that luckily. Yeah, thank fucking God for that. Oh my god. I can't imagine grinding all of this out.
the insane asylum, and uses his time traveler knowledge to invent newer and better weapons for the EDF. And then he gives us the plot twist. The aliens aren't from another planet. They're from Earth, but millions of years into the future. They're not teleporting in monsters that look like giant ants. They're sending the result of millions of years of ant evolution back in time. These aliens evolved from an Earth where mankind is extinct and the world is ruled by monsters. When they asked, are we alone in this universe? They discovered the ruins of human civilization and went back in time to check us out. When they descended in their egg-shaped ships, early humans mythologized them as gods. However, one of them said, "Imagine drunk driving one of these," and did exactly that. After finding the ship, humanity realized, oh shit, there's aliens, and formed the Earth Defense Force. If the EDF exists, the world will never be ruled by monsters, and the aliens will never evolve. That single drunk driving incident just time paradoxed the aliens, but they have one last option to stop themselves from getting blipped. They evolve from a world where humanity is extinct, so they just need to make us extinct. Now, you may be thinking, why not just go back and turn Grug and Grunga into paste? Because that would cause another time paradox. If they solve the problem too early, then they never needed to solve the problem, and will never solve the problem. That's why they invade at the start of EDF 5. It's just after the formation.
This is some fucking crazy shit, man.
Of the EDF, so there's still a reason to go back and invade. All of this means we have a chance. We just have to do well in one loop, and we can time paradox the aliens out of existence for good. This time, we do so well against the aliens that instead of emerging from a bunker into a war zone, you're greeted by an army of advanced soldiers, living in a high-tech utopian Wakanda. Then you blow it all up, but despite your efforts, the aliens are still one step ahead. Every loop, they send their evolved ships back into the ring. Turns out, these ships carry a log of everything we did during the war, and they go back in time and use that to retroactively win the war. They've been doing this the entire time, but out of everything in this fucking game, they are being subtle about it. At the start of the game, a ring ship appears. Then, in the next mission, everything is destroyed. They didn't just move quickly, they went back and changed the timeline. We can only go back in time by shooting at the ring at a specific time. But if the aliens time travel before then, they can retroactively change the current timeline from one where we have 10 billion civilians to one where we have 500 civilians because of EDF's time travel rules. Every mission takes place in its own temporal pocket dimension. Any attempts to change the timeline, past or future, will get queued, and all the queued actions resolve when the mission ends. If we're in mission 50 and you send me back in time to introduce your father to competitive League of Legends, you can watch me leave and you'll be perfectly fine. Then, on mission 51, you no longer exist because you never existed. Who are you? So, when a mission ends, the evolved ship's going back in time gets resolved, and in the next mission, you're fucked. The scientist couldn't care less, though. He's got bigger issues at the moment.
There goes my ulcer again.
In order to win, we have to do so well in one loop that we can assault the time machine before the evolved ships can go back in time. We're done playing around. It's time to win this thing. The Earth Defense Force 9 begins now.
Fuck. Holy fuck. I get it now. I get it now.
Now, we've gone all the way back to the very beginning of EDF 5. This is the payoff for everything we've had to put up with. From the very start, the EDF has giant mechs called Bragas lying around. Why don't they use them? Because they're construction cranes. The EDF doesn't even think to use them as weapons until months later. But this time, you snuck your weapons through the metal detector, so you can save one guy that dies during the tutorial. Turns out, this was the single most important person in the fucking universe. The linchpin that turns the tide of the entire war. This one guy is the only person who knows the code for the Braga elevator. In EDF 5, the base gets wiped and they have to fish out the Bragas from the rubble, but this time they drop the anchors and you hold the line, punching them to death and saving the base from annihilation. Every mission in this timeline corrects all of your mistakes. These guys got squished by a pylon, but now we can block their convoy so they don't. When the dropships appear in EDF 5, you're not allowed to kill them because nobody has ever tried shooting the glowing weak point. But now, as a civilian, you start blasting them out of the sky and get immediately conscripted.
I found a safe place! Behind them!
When Godzilla shows up, you waste no time and immediately bring out the Braga to kick his ass. In fact, this timeline goes so well that the EDF has developed their ultimate weapon, Braga with a gun.
Braga 8. Loss ratio at 50%.
The aliens are throwing everything they have at us.
Holy fuck, this game looks amazing, man. I kind of admire just getting sequels out of the way. Yeah,
it's time for us to use our own trump card. Another Braga. This is basically the perfect timeline for us, but the aliens still managed to send the evolved ships back. If we want to win, we need our own ace in the hole. Luckily, the scientist has one. The EDF's ultimate secret weapon. Coincidence. That's right. Random chance. The aliens have a finite number of evolved ships across every time loop. If 10 go back and we destroy one, then they can only send 9 back in the next loop. So, all we have to do is time loop infinitely and eventually kill every single evolved ship, stopping them from going back in time and wiping our progress, and actually allowing us to gain the upper hand. To communicate this, EDF did the last thing I expected. It got meta. To go back in time and kill the evolved ships, you have to physically go back for your mission select screen. These include the only mission that takes place at night. They can reuse their entire game 3 times, but darkness? Whoa. That's way too disruptive. We can only do that once. After that, you're finally ready to assault the ring. You gather the EDF's finest and attack. Then, they all die and tell you to run away. Great work, guys. You shoot the ring and it goes horizontal, opening its portal to rain enemies. It's revealed that you're not just fighting one group of aliens from one point in the future. You're fighting all aliens from every point in the future. They're throwing everything they have at you, but nothing is more effective than the ring because it stuns a player in real life. Then, the final boss.
That thing is officially our enemy. Elliot, initiate attack.
Of course, everything in EDF is big, but this thing is legitimately too big. It flies outside the skybox, attacks by turning an entire city block blue, and outruns all of your attacks. When you blow its head off, the front opens up and is revealed to be Mega God. What the fuck has happened? The time travel rules have either been making sense, or the oxygen deprivation has finally gotten to me.
Holy fuck. Oh.
Allow me to explain what's actually going on. We are currently in a time duel to determine who gets time paradoxed out of existence, humanity or the aliens. The aliens caused the time paradox with that little ship crash, and we caused the time paradox by launching a dirty bomb at Mars to prevent the Cruel from evolving. Now time itself has chosen us as humanity's champion, and GigaGod as the aliens' champion. Whoever loses this fight gets their entire species time paradoxed out of existence. I'll reiterate, time is a sapient entity which manually resolves paradoxes by handpicking contestants for a deathmatch. This is no longer humanity versus aliens. This is 4 retards versus God's final form.
Jesus Christ, the audio in this fucking game is killing my ears, man.
Remember, aliens, you're no match for the indomitable human spirit. I've met men who could goon for 36 hours straight. I've met stronger men who could flicker goon for 7 seconds. Humanity always has and always will overcome adversity because we have something you don't. Stupidity. And you get nothing. No ending. Goodbye. Thank you for the $60. Earth Defense...
The fucking overwhelmingly negative kills me, man.
is a lobotomizing experience where every single design choice is intentionally wrong. It's a sacrificial altar where you trade neurons for dopamine, coded by Emperor Hirohito himself. The weapon descriptions are lies, the dialogue is primordial brain rot.
We can't! The enemies are right in front of us!
I am the Manchurian Candidate. My MK Ultra activation phrase could be any line of dialogue from this game.
God, I hope it's not mating season.
But I'm not complaining. Coming from a race of people with a history of being fried in DiGiorno easy bake ovens, parting with $60 was a difficult decision, but it was worth it. This is a series made by the same 5 guys for the past 20 years, and I'm cheering them on. Nonsense is an antidote in a world where nothing makes sense, and there's value in something that transcends reason. This is a product of unintelligent design, and I love it. As always, more content to come, so stay tuned. A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild generously funding and bankrolling these videos. You're all truly wonderful.
Oh my god. I feel oh my god. I feel defeated by this fucking video. Holy shit. That's it. Fuck it. Video over. That's it. EDF 6 story has officially fucking fried me, man. So yeah, that's the stream, boys. Thank you for joining me. See you again next time. Hopefully next week. I was speechless all this time, had to absorb it all. This was fucking a lot to swallow, man. Holy. Anyway, thank you for joining me.